Tony Khan put the online hype machine into overdrive after tweeting out on Friday night after Rampage went off the air. He said a top wrestler will walk through the forbidden door this Wednesday and will debut in AEW. This is what he said. I'm just reading from the tweet that he posted on Friday night. The forbidden door can be opened for anyone from any wrestling promotion in the world. He said whether or not it's a company that AEW is on good terms with, they're also welcome to slam the door in the face of their prior company. And boy, you know, that could cover a lot of ground. When you think of all the people who have not had the best of luck working in WWE and probably have a lot to get off their chest. So he got a lot of people talking with these tweets. Who could it be? A lot of non-compete clauses are expiring here first week in February. My God, the possibilities are endless. Who could it be? So naturally, everybody online, everybody on social media started talking about it and started speculating. I said on the podcast this weekend that this felt like it was a reaction to the rating last week being down for the big CM Punk MJF main event on Dynamite, because the number was down last week. All of a sudden, Tony Khan is promising these huge surprises. And then he goes on Busted Open Radio this morning. Just put a little bow on everything, get people even more excited. He goes on Busted Open Radio this morning to say that he was trying to satisfy a lot of different fans on the show tonight with what he had planned. You're never going to be able to please everybody all the time. It's impossible, especially wrestling fans, right? You can't please everybody all the time. We found that out almost a year ago. Remember Christian Cage, when he debuted at Revolution? Remember that? It wasn't Christian's fault, but the hype machine got out of control. When he showed up, it didn't go over too well. And so coming into tonight's show, I was thinking it's very important not to overhype and underdeliver. That's the one thing Tony Khan had to be very careful not to do. And before I even tell you what I thought of the show tonight, I will tell you, and I'm sure it's already going on social media, you're going to get a lot of divided opinion about this show. You're going to have people who say that it was very disappointing. It was very lackluster, the big surprises. And you're going to have a lot of people who are very, very excited for what the future holds in AEW. I think that there is the potential for at least one of these new signings to make a major impact in this company, because I think it's somebody who has a lot to prove. But we did, in fact, have someone walk through the forbidden door tonight. All right, we hear that term get thrown around so much these days. Tony Khan has said, I am the forbidden door. It's to the point where I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing about it. We hear about the forbidden door, and what do you think of? You think of somebody who is currently working for another wrestling promotion who's going to show up one week randomly on Dynamite. This person's going to show up. Well, we got that person tonight. We've had people in the past show up who were signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can add another one to the list, because tonight on the show, we had Switchblade Jay White. Switchblade Jay White made his on-screen AEW debut, his on-screen appearance, in kind of unremarkable fashion tonight. I will say that Jay White showed up on Dynamite tonight in very unremarkable fashion in a backstage segment. That's not exactly the way I had pictured Jay White one day making his AEW debut. He was there to assist the Young Bucks and Adam Cole in a backstage attack on Roppongi Vice. But that was not the only debut on the show tonight. There were a lot of murmurs earlier on. Oh, look at that. There's the Christian Cage one, right on cue. But earlier today, it began to be made very clear we were going to get more than one debut on the show tonight. So we got one Forbidden Door, and we got one not from the Forbidden Door, but we did get somebody from another company, somebody who was let go, somebody who was fired, somebody who lost their job a few months ago, and it was the best thing that could have happened to this person's career. Because on the show tonight, facing Isiah Kassidy of Private Party in a qualifying match for the Face of the Revolution ladder match was the Limitless One himself. He is officially All Elite. There it is. The graphic is already queued up, courtesy of AEW. Keith Lee making his debut here tonight on Dynamite. There was no silly skirt. There was no silly nickname. There was no fucking litter box needed or cat screeches. It was Keith Lee. In all his glory, he comes out, he says, bask in his glory. That's what the crowd was chanting tonight. Bask in his glory. Keith Lee walked out there tonight. He got a great ovation from the crowd. They were happy to see him. He was happy to see them. You could see the happiness on this man's face, that he is free, that he has the chance to start new, fresh all over again. Because I guarantee you, when he signed with NXT all those years ago, and he was getting a hell of a push. In fact, he got pushed right to the NXT Championship by Triple H. And it looked like Keith Lee was going to be one of those guys when he eventually made it up to the main roster who might break through and become a new main event player in that company. He had a couple of cameos. Remember, he was at the Survivor Series one year. He shared a fist bump with Roman Reigns. He was in the Royal Rumble. He got a reaction out of Brock Lesnar. He got to share the ring with Brock. Moves around, pretty agile for a big man. He looked like he was on the ascent, and it looked like big things were in his future. And then COVID sidelined him for a while and really did a number on him, and by his own admission, he almost lost his life. It was touch and go there for a while. So he disappeared. Vanished off television. And when he finally came back, it is as if they completely lost interest in him. Vince McMahon suddenly got amnesia and didn't know who this guy even was. He didn't know what to do with him. So they decided to change everything about him. The music already had to change. Probably a CFO's thing. But the music changed. They put him in this weird singlet with this purple cat scratch claw. And they told him, go out there and make cat noises and shriek. They gave him a nickname, Bearcat, which by his own admission was not some random tribute to Bearcat Wright. We could put that shit to bed once and for all. All the apologists, oh, it's a tribute to Bearcat Wright. All of a sudden, the guy's been wrestling for how many years? It's a tribute to Bearcat Wright. Shut up. They made changes to somebody they did not need to make changes to. They didn't know what to do with him, and then they fired him. They fired him. And what you saw on this show tonight, and I'm going to get into it when I get to the match with Isiah Kassidy, but what you saw in that match tonight against a man much smaller than he, that is how you use Keith Lee. That is how you book Keith Lee. That is how you make an impact in your very first appearance, by sending Keith Lee out there to throw this man around like nothing, to show that he is a force to be reckoned with. That is how you book a debut. That is how you make an impact on night one. And that's all it is. It's just one night. I don't know where Keith Lee is going to be in 6 months. I might be on the air live with all of you in 6 months doing a Dynamite review, talking about what the hell is up with Tony Khan. How come Keith Lee is barely making any appearances on TV? That's kind of the way I have felt up until recently about the way they were using Andrade. What's up with Andrade? Maybe in 6 months I'm sitting here talking about that, but I don't think so. So I'm happy for Keith Lee. I'm happy and I'm hopeful that he will be able to show all of the doubters and all the people who said, I don't see the big deal in this guy, and to show his former employer. He doesn't have to go do shoot interviews. He doesn't have to come out and cut promos on WWE every week. But this is a guy who has something to prove. And tonight, he proves something, I think, to a lot of people. Now we'll see. Now the fun begins, because we'll see where the journey leads Keith Lee. But at least now it feels like he'll actually have a chance to be himself. And he'll sink or swim. Either he'll get over or he won't. But I'll tell you one thing. In Atlantic City tonight, he was over. The people liked what they saw. And I think it's a good sign of things to come. But, you know, with all the talk about these debuts, Keith Lee and Jay White and all the new blood, Tony Khan continuing to bring new people into AEW when they already have a roster full of people, let us not lose sight of the fact that on tonight's show, we got some damn good fucking wrestling from the existing members of the roster. We got a tag team match with CM Punk tagging with Jon Moxley to take on FTR. FTR, every time I see them out there making the case for why they are the best tag team in the world, you can throw the names out there of any tag team you want. You could talk about the New Day. You could talk about the Usos. You could talk about the Briscoes. FTR is right there. The Bucks. FTR is right there in the conversation. I still don't think these guys get their just due. Very old school tag team, but they are one of the best teams in the world. And they went out there tonight and had an excellent tag team match. And by way of CM Punk winning that match, he now gets his rematch with MJF, likely at Revolution. But he had to win that match tonight to earn the right to wrestle MJF again, and that is what he did. So I thought that we had an excellent tag team match, and that is to say nothing of the main event that we had on the show for the AEW World Championship Texas Death Match. Hangman Adam Page one-on-one against Lance Archer. They went out there. Yeah, it was a garbage match. Literally, garbage cans, garbage lids, kendo sticks, lots of blood, tables, barbed wire, all that shit. If it's not your thing, you probably didn't like it very much. We've had quite a few of these matches in AEW over the last several months, but that's what a Texas Death Match is all about. You kind of knew that coming in, and Hangman Page continues to deliver. You know, when I see people, and I have, say, well, you know, it does kind of feel a little underwhelming so far. I mean, Hangman has been the champion for not even a full 2 months yet. He's only had a handful of matches. The matches with Bryan Danielson were excellent. Tonight, he wasn't in there with Bryan Danielson. Lance Archer is a very different type of wrestler, but I thought those two went in there tonight. And in that environment, they had a fucking fun match. They killed each other. They bled all over the place. And when it was over, it felt like Hangman Page was in the fight of his life. He took some hellacious punishment, some hellacious bump, especially that stare bump in that match. But I enjoyed the hell out of that main event. I thought the two of them went out there and had a hell of a match. So it can't all just be about Keith Lee and Jay White and who's debuting next. Let's also focus on the people who are already there, who are helping to build this place. Those two matches tonight were excellent. On what I thought was the strongest show yet so far in 2022 for AEW. I thought tonight's show was largely an excellent show. And in case you couldn't figure it out, this is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. I am the Solomonster. Dynamite was live tonight from Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey, the same venue that hosted WrestleManias 4 and 5, back-to-back in 1988 and 1989. Looking a little different than the way it was set up back then, but a lot of time has passed. I'm sure that venue has been renovated and has changed over the years. They had, I think, close to 6,000 people in the building tonight. I thought they were pretty hot, I think, through not all the show, but most of the show. Super chats are open. I see some of them popping up already. I thank you for that. I am going to read each and every single one of your super chats as we go along here on this stream. And I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday. We have a brand new edition, an updated edition, updated for 2022 of Be the Booker, courtesy of yours truly. I worked on it myself. It took 11 hours of my time over 2 days, but I got it done. Brand new Be the Booker. Men's edition is going to debut at the end of the stream tonight. I'm still working on one for the ladies. It's very time consuming to do it the way that I'm doing it, but I promise you we will have one for the ladies sometime in the next few days, probably by next week. So we got a lot of stuff to get to tonight, and I want to thank you all for choosing me for your Dynamite coverage. The show opened. Let's start from the very top. Show opened tonight with Wardlow walking down the aisle on the red carpet that wasn't red. It was a red carpet. But it was in the colors of MJF's scarf. And he was walking down to the ring carrying 2 cardboard cutouts of MJF, including one of him with a sleeper hold on CM Punk from when he choked him out with his wrist tape in their match on last week's show. Smash that like button, says Mr. E1976 in the chat. Yes, indeed, I forgot to mention that, but do hit that like button. It does help out the stream. And shout out to everybody who is in the live chat. I see Joey Donuts. I see Samoan Fan. Red Emissary, Dried Chicken. Everyone's here tonight. Everybody is here tonight. So, Wardlow props up these cardboard cutouts, one in each corner of the ring. And he walks over to Justin Roberts and he gives him instructions on who to introduce next. And he introduces FTR along with the living legend, Tully Blanchard, and they come out to the ring. And they're all dressed up in their suits. They're ready for a celebration. They're ready for a party. They got an entrance, but Wardlow did not, as the announcers pointed out. And then it was the greatest accountability buddy of all time that brought out Shawn Spears, who had a chair in one hand. He had a bottle of champagne in the other, which looked empty. I don't know if it was. It looked empty to me. And then out next, from the most magical place in the world, Plainview, Long Island. I can tell you, all due respect to my Long Island peeps, that Plainview, there ain't nothing magical about Plainview. But that's how he had to introduce him tonight. He said, the man who pins shoulders on mats and bangs all the rats. And he went on this 5-minute introduction. I'm not going to repeat everything he said. It was another 5 minutes worth of things that Justin Roberts was forced to read before MJF came out. And he was carried to the ring on a throne, Macho King style. He and some redheaded woman were basically swallowing each other's faces on the ring apron before he got into the ring. I have to assume it was his girlfriend. Unless it was one of the aforementioned rats that Justin Roberts mentioned. Hey, possible. I'm sure the guy got a lot of groupies, but I'm assuming that was his girlfriend. MJF said that he proved that he is better than Brett in Canada. He's better than Piper in Portland, better than CM Punk in Chicago. And now it is time. It is time now to go after the AEW World Championship. That brought out CM Punk. No music. Punk just, was strolling out onto the stage. He looked over at Tony Schiavone. He motioned, come hither. And Tony Schiavone went over to interview him. And he called CM Punk, or MJF's rather, his win last week. He said he cheated. It was basically a fraud. He wanted a rematch. And he said he brought some friends with him. And he motioned, and out comes Darby Allin and Sting, each with their own baseball bat. Dax Harwood got some mic time here. He was talking about also wanting a rematch. He wanted a rematch from the 6-man tag they had a few weeks ago when it was Punk. Remember when Punk came out wearing the Sting makeup and Sting had the Punk makeup, and it was them and Darby against MJF and FTR. That was the match where MJF almost killed himself on that hip toss when Sting threw him out of the ring onto FTR. He almost died. And Punk agreed to run the match back, but MJF said, well, we got some conditions here. It's going to go like this. Tonight, CM Punk has to find himself a tag team partner. The condition is that it cannot be Sting, and it cannot be Darby Allin. It cannot be Tweedledee and Tweedledum. You've got to go find somebody else. And there aren't that many people that like you. But if you can find somebody, you guys go up against FTR. And if by chance you find somebody, and if by chance you win the match, you get any kind of match you want with me at any time. So that was the stipulation. They set that match up for later in the show. I thought that, MJF, he was good here. I mean, MJF is generally very good in these segments. So he was fine. Once the opening stuff was over, you expected him to come out and gloat. I didn't mind any of that. But then Punk came out, and then Darby and Sting, and then Dax, and then back and forth. And, this went on. This was the first 20 minutes of the show. And after a while, it felt like one of those 20-minute opening promos that you would get on WWE television, which is not so good. So that's the one thing it started to drag and feel like a WWE promo to me. But I think we all knew we were going to get the rematch. I mean, I mapped it all out, probably a couple of months ago on the podcast, how this was going to go. I said MJF has to win that first match. I wasn't sure they could hold off until Revolution to do it, but I said he's got to win that first match. You can bring it back and have a second, maybe even a third match. You can do more than one match between these two. So as soon as he beat Punk in the way that he did last week, you knew Revolution was going to have the rematch. And so this set the stage for that to happen. Now, when they came back from the break, in the back, Tony Schiavone was holding court with Andrade and Jose and Sting and Darby Allin. Finally, Andrade gets his meeting with Mr. Stink. Boy, he's been waiting weeks for this. And he almost called him Mr. Stink, and then he stopped short. And if you go back and watch it, I don't know if this was a corpsing moment or not, but Sting started to smile. He started to laugh, almost like he kind of stopped himself from laughing before Andrade called him Mr. Stink. But Andrade called Darby a kid, as he has been doing, offered him a contract. Sting said, look, first of all, he's not a kid. And he made it clear a few weeks ago that he's not interested. And if you have a problem with him, then you should probably talk to him mano a mano. Darby said that he's got bigger things to do, like become the next TNT champion. So there you go, right? That they did that tease with him and Sammy when he came out to save Sammy and he looked at the title on his shoulder and kind of looked like maybe they were going in that direction for Revolution. And I said, maybe they'll do a triple threat. Maybe they'll do Darby, Sammy, and Andrade. And it looks like maybe they will. Maybe they will go in that direction. But Andrade warned him. He said that he, as in Darby, is going to work for him. And he said Darby wants to be TNT champion. Well, Andrade is the next TNT champion. And he walked off. So again, I think that a three-way, I know they don't do them very often, all the multi-man matches as far as like fatal four-ways and triple threats. They've done a few. But if it were me, I mean, that would be a hell of a match to set up for Revolution. You put Andrade in the ring with Darby and Sammy? Shit. Sign me up for that. We had The Blade. When was the last time The Blade had a match or a singles match on Dynamite? Yeah, I couldn't remember either. So The Blade comes out representing the Andrade Hardy family office. He was the lamb sent to slaughter against Wardlow. Wardlow had to go to the back, change out of his suit into his gear, and he gave the Blade more than he gives most people. The Blade chop blocked him before the bell. He was working over Wardlow's leg. Eventually, Wardlow made a comeback. He had 4 power bombs, and that was the end of Mr. Blade. After the match, Sean Spears snuck in, hit Blade with a chair once, which looked like it annoyed Wardlow more than anything else. Again, trying to steal Wardlow's thunder. We've seen him do this a few times now. The slow burn continues. And Punk, I didn't mention this, but Punk in the opening segment, he was also directing some messages to Wardlow and telling him, look, this guy basically is not doing you any favors. He doesn't care about you. If you step aside, we'll leave you alone. So again, trying to, cause a wedge between MJF and Wardlow. This was something else that happened tonight that might not get too much attention in light of all the debuts and the world title match and everything else, but this was one of the cooler parts of tonight's show. And it was very brief. But there was a pre-tape. There was a video package with the voice. We didn't actually see him on camera, but we heard Alex Abrahantes, and we kind of saw Pentagon, but not really. They were showing them. It looked like they were at a cemetery somewhere. They were talking about him being misted in the eyes by Malachi Black. Malachi had spit the black mist in Penta's face in their previous match. It was Penta and Pac against Malachi and Brody King. He got misted. So we see Penta. He's dragging a shovel, dragging it across like a dirt road. He's digging. And what he digs up is a red and black mask that he holds in his hand. Again, I think there was some Spanish. I couldn't make out what was being said, but Pentagon Dark. Anybody who saw Pentagon at Lucha Underground, you remember Pentagon Jr. at some point in one of the seasons morphed into Pentagon Dark. He was going around breaking everybody's arms. If this is the kind of foretelling of coming debut for Pentagon Dark, I'm all for it. I've been waiting for a proper Pentagon singles push in AEW, really since he came over, since I saw him on Lucha Underground. And I expect, Phoenix is going to be back fairly soon. I think within the next month and a half at the most, Ray Phoenix will probably be back. The Lucha Bros will be back together. But in the meantime, if we get some Pentagon Dark, you get no arguments out of me. So if that is what we're getting here, what does that mean, right? We know what that meant in Lucha Underground, but just because he puts on a new mask, we don't know if he's going to act any differently. We don't know if he's going to be featured in a more prominent role on the show. We don't know. But the idea of bringing Pentagon Dark or some variation of that character to Dynamite is very cool. We had a mandatory meeting that Chris Jericho had called of all the members of the inner circle, right? Class meeting. He said all members have to attend. Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Jake Hager came out for the team meeting. There was no Santana, there was no Ortiz. Once they got to the ring, we heard some new music. Santana and Ortiz, they came out separately to their own theme music. They're starting to carve their own path. And Jericho said that was cute. You know, them coming out on their own to their own music. That's cute. It's cute. But 2 weeks ago, when you didn't tag me into our match against Daniel Garcia in 2.0, well, that wasn't very cute. And he said, in fact, you embarrassed me. Worst of all, and this was a key part of the promo here, which I have to think is setting up a much needed heel turn for Jericho. But he made the comment, he said, worst of all, you robbed the AEW fans in the building that night of the chance to see me wrestle. You robbed the AEW fans of the chance to see Chris Jericho compete in the ring, because clearly all of these fans paid to come see Chris Jericho wrestle that night. And so all you did was cheat all of these paying fans, all these paying customers. At that point, Santana took the mic and he said, enough of this corny shit. And Santana proceeded to cut the best promo I have ever heard him cut in AEW. He said, sometimes you got to see things for what they are. And at the end of the day, Chris Jericho only cares about one person. And that person is Chris Jericho. Anytime it looks like we might be getting a little bit of spotlight or, anything at all, we get pushed to the side so we can come to your rescue. He said the days of us playing second fiddle to you are over and done with. It's always you who stood in our way. It was always you that made sure you had a bigger spotlight than we did, but it was the fans. It was he was pointing at the crowd. He goes, all these people that believed in us that kept us going this entire time. He told Jericho that he better look Ortiz in the face and thank him, because if it was not for Ortiz, he said that I would have dropped your ass a long time ago. Now, there was a point in here before he made that comment where Jericho went to go speak, and he basically shut him down and said, I'm not finished talking yet. And then he made that line about, if it wasn't for Ortiz, I would have dropped you a long time ago. And then he looked at Jericho and he said, now you may speak. And I thought that was great. And Jericho said Santana reminded him of his old friend, Eddie Guerrero. There you go. Trying to get some cheap heat. Not cheap heat, but trying to get some a cheap pop from the crowd, which worked because they started chanting Eddie's name. And then he made mention of a different Eddie. He said Eddie Kingston has been planting ideas in their head. He's been poisoning their minds. He called himself the Influencer. That's Jericho's new name that I think he trademarked, or he's attempting to trademark. Jericho's the man of 1,000 holes. He's the man of 1,000 trademarks. He's always trying to trademark. I wonder if he's given up on the whole GFY thing. I don't hear him mentioning that anymore. Ever since Jon Moxley went on Dynamite his first night back after rehab, and he literally just looked at that dumbass in the crowd and he said, go fuck yourself. And I said that night on the stream, I laughed and I said, boy, he just killed Jericho's new catchphrase dead. What's the point in Jericho coming out and trying to get GYV over if somebody just came out and just said it, right? And I haven't heard him mention it since. He might still be selling that shirt, but I haven't heard him mention it since. So now Jericho is trying to call himself the influencer. He goes, I am the influencer in this company. And since I brought you to AEW, you guys have been in main events. You've made more money than you ever have in your entire lives. And they still want to put their shortcomings on him. He mentioned the date February 17th, which is, I think, is it next week, right? I think it's next week. So I thought he was about to preview. So I thought they were getting a title match next week or something. So he mentions February 17th. He goes, it was about a year ago on February 17th that Santana and Ortiz had their chance to become AEW Tag Team Champions against the Young Bucks. And they lost. And he said, that wasn't anything that I had anything to do with. You guys had a match for the tag team titles, and you couldn't do it. You went in there on your own, and you lost. Don't put that on me. He said, I brought you into the inner circle. I can kick you out. And then he said, maybe I invited the wrong two members of LAX to join the group. And he looked over at Hager and he goes, hey, Jake, you got Homicide and Hernandez's phone number? And before he could even say the word number, Santana grabbed him by the throat, and Sammy Guevara tried to break them up, calm things down. Jericho told him to shut up. And when Jericho went to go speak, Sammy told him to shut up. Now Sammy Guevara was going to speak. And this is one of the reasons, and I'm glad that it looks like this group is finally splitting apart. I said last week, one of the things I don't like about this is that Sammy Guevara is off doing his own thing. And Sammy he's on top of the world right now, right? He's got both TNT belts. He had that incredible match, the ladder match with Cody a few weeks ago. And he's doing his own thing and he's doing fine. He doesn't need Chris Jericho anymore. At the beginning, yeah, a lot of people didn't know who Sammy Guevara was, and he was getting some rub by being associated with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho came into the company. He was a known commodity. He was a star. People knew who he was. He was the first world champion in the company. So, even Santana and Ortiz and Sammy, they all kind of benefited, it felt like, by being associated with Jericho. The problem is so much time now has gone by that things have passed Jericho by in a lot of ways. Sammy is doing his thing. Sammy feels like a bigger star than Jericho. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying in AEW, he feels like someone now who is on that level. And if he's not, he's pretty damn close. He's not anybody who needs to fucking suck on the tit of Chris Jericho to get himself over. Sammy is doing just fine on his own. Santana and Ortiz, somewhere along the way, they got lost in the background, man. They became background players. They have not done a goddamn thing. When he mentioned that February 17th date last year in the match against the Bucks, I completely forgot about that. It's a year ago in like a random TV match, but I completely forgot about that. What have they done since then? They have done nothing. I can remember the Blood and Guts match that they were part of, and I can remember that parking lot brawl. I think it was against Best Friends, right? What else have they done? What else of note have Santana and Ortiz done? How have they benefited by being associated for this long with Jericho in the Inner Circle? There was a lot of truth in what Santana was saying in that promo. Planned or scripted as it may have been, whatever word you want to use. I know it's part of the ongoing storyline, but I think it works because you and I hear the words coming out of his mouth and we say, hey, you know what? He's right. There's a lot of truth in what this guy is saying. But Sammy, when he called this team meeting, it felt like, Sammy's going to go out there. He's going to be part of this, and it's going to feel beneath him to be doing this. And so Sammy had enough of everybody's shit. He says he had goals to become the number one guy. All this bickering isn't going to help that happen. And so he took off his Inner Circle vest. This reminded me of the Aces and Eights stuff in Impact many years ago when everybody had their cut. Remember, they had their vest. Everybody had their cut. That's what they call them. So Sammy took off his cut and he laid it down in the ring and he said, you guys figure this shit out. You guys go ahead and figure this shit out, because if you can't, I'm going to quit once and for all. He quit once before, but this time it'll be for good. And after he laid down the vest, Sammy left the ring and he walked to the back. Ortiz took the mic and he put over Eddie Kingston as someone who they can trust. He called him one of our brothers in arms. All this bickering is not going to settle anything. He goes, where we come from, when we have an issue, we don't settle it with this, what we're doing in the ring right now. We don't settle it with words. We don't settle it by arguing with each other. The way we settle it, and he held up his fist. And he said, next week, Santana and Ortiz against Jericho and Jake Hager, and we settle this shit once and for all. And Jericho said, if you want to fight, you're going to get one. This turned out to be a lot better than I thought it would be, and I am hopeful that this is, in fact, leading to a split once and for all of the Inner Circle, and not a temporary split, and then they're going to come back together like one big happy family. I thought Santana was great. Ortiz was fine too, but he didn't say much. Santana was fantastic. And I think of the two, Santana is the one who I see as maybe kind of one day having breakout singles potential. I could see Santana as a TNT champion, not in the near future, but down the road. But right now, there's a lot left for him and Ortiz to do as a tag team. But I thought him on the mic, he came across here as genuine. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel, there are times when guys who don't get a lot of mic time, it can be awkward when they are in the middle of the ring doing a live promo. He goes out there, man, and it sounds like, he's talking from the heart. He can speak to you in a way that just feels authentic. So I love that part where Jericho went to go talk and he said, "I'm not finished yet." And he finished what he was saying, and then he said to Jericho, "Now you may speak." That's boss shit right there. So I thought Santana was fantastic. Jericho came across like a smug heel. I go back to the line about how you screwed the people out of seeing a Chris Jericho match. He sounds like a fucking egomaniac, right? I hope that was by design. Because the other thing I have said in recent weeks when it comes to Jericho, who does nothing for me, these last few months, Jericho may as well not even be on TV. Jericho just feels like he is wasting television time that could be devoted to other people. He feels like someone who has overstayed his welcome. I think a little bit of time off would do him a lot of good. But if he's not going to go away, what do you do with him, right? He was a heel, then he's been a babyface for a while. It might be time to go back to being a heel. It comes more naturally to him. So maybe that was a little hint. At least as far as the match next week, they're going to be working as heels. That's what I got out of this. I don't know if it's a long-term heel turn or what, but some of the stuff that he said, especially that comment, how could that be taken as anything but something coming out of the mouth of a heel? What babyface would say that? You deprived the people of seeing a Chris Jericho match. How dare you? That was the worst thing that you did. Guy's a fucking egomaniac. But I thought Santana was great in this segment. Tony Schiavone was in the back. This was our first big surprise of the night. Tony Schiavone was in the back, interviewing Roppongi Vice, Trent, and Rocky Romero about their match against the Young Bucks on Rampage this Friday. This is the match that got canceled a few weeks ago. They were supposed to wrestle, and Rocky came down with COVID. He tested positive, so they canceled the match. Or they replaced him. There was a match, but he was replaced in the match. I think it ended up being a singles match, right? Was it Nick Jackson? I think it was Nick Jackson against Trent, maybe. But anyway, they're in the back being interviewed, and the Young Bucks walk up. And Adam Cole is with them, and they end up jumping Rocky and Trent, and they're beating them down, and they gave Rocky a BTE trigger. And all of a sudden, Adam Cole looks up, and he acknowledges somebody off camera that we can't see. And who should walk into camera view? He's got his back turned, but he's wearing a jacket on the back. It says Switchblade. And then it becomes very clear who it is. It is Switchblade Jay White, former IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Switchblade Jay White, making his debut appearance here in AEW, and he goes over and he picks Trent up off the floor for a split second there. You don't know if he's going to help him or not, but of course he doesn't. And he throws Trent into the side of this production truck that's in the background. And then he tells Nick Jackson, he compliments him on his earrings, and he walks away. That was it. That was it. That was the big Forbidden Door appearance on the show tonight. That was the big debut for Switchblade Jay White. Jay White from New Japan Pro Wrestling was this Forbidden Door that Tony Khan has been talking about now for days. Kind of a lame way to debut. This was, in some ways, just the complete opposite of how they debuted Keith Lee in the very next segment. That was a debut. This was kind of lame. Doing it in a backstage segment, doing it in the way that they did, I thought was kind of lame. You know what it reminded me of? The first thing I thought of when it was over, I said, what does this remind me of? When Eric Bischoff debuted on Monday Night Raw, right? What a big deal that was. The visual of seeing Bischoff walk out on Monday Night Raw and then to hug Vince McMahon. It was like something you never thought you would see. And there may have been, I don't remember if there were, most people thought it was going to be Bischoff as the GM or not. I don't remember, but they debut him in a backstage segment before they go to commercial. Instead of waiting until after the break and have Vince come out and introduce him fresh, they sent him, and everybody saw it in the building and on TV because they wanted people to tune in, in the commercial, tell their friends to tune in. But they threw him in a backstage segment. That's where Booker T went. Tell me I didn't just see that. And I remember thinking, how the fuck are you going to debut Eric Bischoff that way? You couldn't just hold off until after the commercial and just send him out there as a total surprise out in front of all the people before you did that. It always annoyed me the way they did that. That's kind of what this reminded me of a little bit. But Jay White, if you remember, think back to Friday night, when SmackDown and Rampage were over and Tony Khan was tweeting his little fingers away. And I was live, updating everybody live with what he was saying and talking about the Forbidden Door and all this. What was the first name I mentioned? I said to you, the first name I thought of as far as who this big mystery guy was going to be. I said it was Jay White. Initially, I thought it was Switchblade Jay White, but then he kept tweeting, and then he was talking about, this person is one and the same. That's what he said at first. Tony Khan at first said that this new big talent debut facing Isiah Kassidy is the same person walking through the Forbidden Door. He goes, they are one and the same. So he made it sound like there's only one person debuting. And then he's talking about how, they're free to talk about their former employer and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, well, that's not really what the Forbidden Door is. That doesn't really make sense, but it's got to be a former WWE guy. So I said, well, it's probably not Jay White. I was thinking maybe Keith Lee. Well, I was kind of right, I guess, right? I mean, I didn't know for sure who it was going to be, but I guess I was kind of right on both counts as far as what my initial thoughts were. But Jay White was the first name that popped in my head. Jay White is based here in the States right now. He hasn't been doing anything as far as any major angles or storylines in New Japan. He wasn't at Wrestle Kingdom. And I'm just thinking, man, I was thinking about him recently. What happened to Jay White? Where's he been? Where's he at? Other than maybe New Japan strong stuff. But I mean, he should be doing more than that. So if he's around and if he's available, why not have him show up on AEW television? We've already had Suzuki. We've already had Kenta. I mean, they've had people show up temporarily and make appearances. So why not Jay White? And that's what we got here on the show tonight. Jay White is a great get. I don't know how long he's in for. I don't know how many matches he's going to wrestle. I don't know how many appearances he's going to make. But Jay White is somebody who a few years ago I was not really as high on as some people were. Everybody was talking about Jay White and they were talking about David Finlay. And I was like, Jay White didn't really do much for me. And then he kind of fine-tuned his persona and he was doing everything in his power just to act so smug that he was doing everything right to get people to hate him. He was such a hateable personality. He became a great heel. And he won me over. And then, of course, he also went out there. He was having killer matches. So I became a Jay White fan. And I think that not knowing what he's going to be doing outside of, maybe having one match where he, teams up with Cole and the Bucks maybe to do something. I don't know if he'll be in any kind of major program. But it's a good get for AEW. And obviously for him in New Japan, it gives them great exposure on TNT, on TBS. So it's kind of a win-win all around. And AEW working more with New Japan is something I've been waiting for a long time. I'm still waiting for some of those other big names to show up one day. And whether it's a Tanahashi with Moxley, we never got that match. Okada showing up. Punk has already called him out and said, hey, meet me at the United Center. Bryan Danielson. If Bryan Danielson doesn't do something with those guys, either in Japan or in AEW, then there's no justice in this world. If we don't get at least one Okada-Danielson match, we'd be very upset. So there are bigger names that I am still looking forward to the day where we can get them in and they can do stuff. And believe me, the AEW audience will know exactly who they are. I'm not worried about them showing up one day and, everyone's sitting on their hands. If Okada or Ibushi or somebody shows up one day, if Ibushi shows up to do something with Omega, believe me, the AEW audience will know who he is. And it will be a big moment. Jay White is, again, one of those big names from New Japan. He just hasn't been doing anything recently. So better to let him show up here and do something on this show. And I'm very excited because, the timing of this couldn't be any better. This Saturday is the next House of Glory show. House of Glory has a show at the NYC Arena called Repentance this Saturday night. And Jay White is going to be wrestling on that show. So I will get to call my first Jay White match. And boy, I'll have a lot to talk about now in light of him making his AEW debut this week. So the same week he debuts, I get to call my first Switchblade match on Saturday night, so that should be a lot of fun. Now, later in the show, before the main event, the Young Bucks and Adam Cole were backstage. They went back to them again. And Adam Cole said that Jay White would be in their corner for their match against Roppongi Vice on Friday night, which I assume they're taping all of this tonight. They're probably taping it right now as we speak. The Bucks were very unsure of this. They said to Cole, it would have been nice for you to clue us in that this guy was going to be showing up. And they pointed out that, Jay White has had issues with Kenny, and Kenny has had issues with him in the past. Kind of, what are you doing here? And Cole said, look, we talk about this thing in the Elite, but the reality is when you're Bullet Club for life. And he goes, I got something I got to go do. This was later in the show before the main event. So he had something else he was going to be coming out to do. And we'll get to what that was here in a little bit. But before we get to any of that, we have the other big debut to talk about here on this show. Before I get to that, I do want to just welcome everybody who is joining me here for the Dynamite review. Very big night. This really was the big AEW show, I think, for the month of February, because they don't have any other major shows, theme shows. The next big show really is Revolution. That pay-per-view is coming up in just under a month. So this was kind of the big event of the month, I think, for them. And clearly Tony Khan wanted to load this show up. And one of the things that will have people talking coming out of tonight is what happened next. It was Isiah Kassidy of Private Party. He was going one-on-one with a mystery man in a Face of the Revolution ladder match qualifier. The winner of this match will move on to the Face of the Revolution ladder match on March 6th. Whoever wins that match will be next in line for a shot at the TNT Championship. So Isiah Kassidy comes out with Matt Hardy in his corner and his partner, Mark Quinn. They're waiting to see who it is that he's going to be stepping into the ring with. And out comes Limitless Keith Lee. And for those of you who are joining the stream late, yes, indeed, there it is. There's the man himself. Keith Lee is All Elite, and I guess AEW has made it official. Now, somebody in the chat a moment ago said that Tony Khan, I guess on Twitter, said that they only secured Jay White on Sunday. Again, I go back to what I said over the weekend on the podcast. I think a lot of this and how, him putting all of this on the show this week, I think a lot of this was in reaction to that rating last week. And, normally getting 954,000 people to tune into your show is not a terrible number. But when you were at 1.1 million the week before, and you build everything around this first ever match between CM Punk and MJF, and you drop by that much, that's a disappointing number. So him working to get these guys in time for this, particular show, I think had at least something to do with those numbers last week. We'll see if it worked. I'm very curious what number they do tonight, or tonight when the numbers come in tomorrow, because there was a lot of buzz around this show, online, on social media, people wondering who's it going to be. They had a world title match, so I'm very curious to see if this strategy was effective for him. But yes, it was Keith Lee. Keith Lee comes out, he gets a great reaction here in Atlantic City. He goes into the ring. His music, we'll have to hear the music in the weeks to come. The music that he came out to sounded, pretty good. No singlets. He's a big guy. He's bigger than he was when he first came to WWE. I will say that. If you go back and look at Keith Lee when he initially came to NXT, he was a little bit smaller. So he's gotten bigger since then. But he was moving around perfectly fine in the ring tonight, and the very beginning of the match. This was my favorite part of the whole match. It's funny because Keith Lee, I can think of 3 moments. I have 3 favorite Keith Lee moments in no particular order. The first thing I think of, 2 of them are from NXT, and 1 of them is from tonight's show. And I'm curious if you have if you're thinking of the same moments that I am. One of them was a match that he was involved in the old NXT. Finn Balor is in the corner. I don't even remember what the match was, if it was a tag team match or a triple threat or what it was. Finn Balor is in the corner. He's setting up, I think, for a shotgun dropkick. And he's doing, the gun sign. And the way they shot this was fucking perfect because they're zoomed in on Finn, and all of a sudden, like a monster rising out of the sea, here comes Keith Lee standing up, and he's got this really mean expression on his face, but like he slowly rises behind Finn. Finn doesn't even know that he's there. I love that moment, the way it was shot. The other one I think of is on NXT when Adam Cole comes stomping his way down to the ring. And again, the way they shot this, we didn't see Keith Lee. He comes into camera frame out of nowhere, and he fucking pounces this guy. Now, Adam Cole is not a big guy. He's not that big of a guy, not compared to Keith Lee. And Keith Lee just fucking body checked him. He flew into the audience, into what I assume were a bunch of planted fans. But my God, that is, I always fucking laugh every time I see that moment. The way that this man went flying, right? He goes into the ring with Isiah Kassidy tonight. And Isiah Kassidy, small guy, kind of rail thin. He's not physically imposing or anything like that. Which is why I think he was the perfect person to put in the ring with Keith Lee in his very first match. It would not have made any sense to put Keith Lee in the ring with somebody bigger than him, somebody like Luchasaurus or Lance Archer, or anybody like that. That would have been stupid. But he goes into the ring, and he fucking bealed Isiah Kassidy. I can't even say halfway across the ring. There was a moment as he flung this man into another dimension where I briefly thought he might actually go flying out of the ring and get hurt. I thought he was going to clear the top rope there for a second. He did this from one corner of the ring and almost threw this man out of the ring on the other side. It is a moment that I very much look forward to going back and replaying. I've only seen it the one time, but I'm sure somebody will gif it and put it on Twitter, and I will play it over and over and over again. That was the damnedest fucking Beal that I have ever seen in my life. That was fucking perfect. So then he hits a leapfrog, drop down, fucking body blocked Isiah and wiped him out. Mark Quinn threw his partner back into the ring, and Keith Lee had gone out to try to go after him. So now he's on the apron. And Lee, from the apron, hit a slingshot into a crossbody. Yes, Darlene said Isiah screaming like a little girl. That just made it better. The shrieking coming from Isiah Kassidy only made it better. I fucking love it. I fucking love it. There was a spot where Kassidy tried to clothesline Keith Lee coming off the ropes, but Lee no-sold it, and he came off on the other side, and he pounced him right out of the ring. And at that point, Matt Hardy pulled a Jeff Hardy, and he walked off into the crowd. That's the first thing I thought of. I said, oh, he pulled a Jeff. He was completely sick of what he was seeing. He walked out on Private Party. And I'm going to tell you in a second why that's a positive for Private Party. If this is leading to where I hope it's leading to, which it may not be, but I kind of hope it is. So he pulled a Jeff, and he walked off into the crowd. And the first thing I wrote it in my notes, I said, quick, drug test that man. He's acting strange. So Kassidy hit a corkscrew plancha out over the top rope to the floor, took Lee down. First time Keith Lee got taken down in the match. Keith Lee, though, came back. I think we all know how this was going to end, right? I mean, it's not all that surprising that it would end with the Big Bang catastrophe, if that's what he still calls it. They didn't give it a name or anything. That's what he was calling it in NXT, the BBC. So I don't know if he's going to give it a new name or not. Yeah. Stephen Chappa with the $60. Look at this, $60 super chat. The Solomonster Bushwhacker super chat. Yay! Look at that. Isiah Kassidy got thrown so far, so hard, and landed on his head. He may think he's a bushwhacker now. He may start walking around on TV every week going, yay! He might not know where he is. But Keith Lee hit the BBC. And Keith Lee is moving on to the ladder match at Revel. That's a big guy to be in a ladder match, climbing a ladder. I don't know that he's going to win. My initial thought, without knowing anybody else who's even going to be in that match other than Wardlow, I assume Wardlow is going to be in there because MJF's already talking about how you're going to win. You're going to go on to win the TNT title, and then per your contract, you're going to give me the belt. So I assume that means Wardlow is going to be in that match. But I don't know that Keith Lee is going to win. You know, in a match like that, he can be in there and he can do all kinds of impressive shit, but not get pinned. It's actually a safe match for him to be in as far as not, you know, beating him straight up. But he is in the match. When it was over, Mark Quinn jumped on Lee's back, and both members of Private Party double drop kicked him out of the ring. Kassidy flew out over the top rope. Lee caught him. Mark Quinn went flying. Lee caught him, powerbombed him onto his partner, who was on all fours on the floor. Then he picked him up, and he gave him an apron powerbomb and laid him out as well. So that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you debut Keith fucking Lee in his first match in AEW. I don't think that he could have looked any more impressive. It wasn't very long. He didn't have to do too much, but what he did do, especially him throwing this guy around, looked great. And it was exactly what it should have been. So for a first night debut, I don't think Tony Khan could have booked this guy any better than he did. And again, I said this at the beginning. I can't predict right now sitting here exactly where he's going to be on the card in 6 months. I think he'll be doing well. I think he'll be doing a lot better than he was doing in WWE. And Keith Lee, I think, will go down. I don't want to say is the biggest missed opportunity because God knows they've missed a lot of opportunities over the years with a lot of people. But I think Keith Lee is going to be one of those head scratchers that we look back on and go, how the fuck did they let go of that guy? How did they not find something to do with this guy? They couldn't find a way to make money off this guy. They had to come up with all sorts of gimmicks and weird little things and put him in a fucking dress it looked like he was wearing and, you know, tell him go out there and shriek and roar. Remember when they would preview him before he came out on Raw? Coming up next, Keith Lee claws his way onto Monday Night Raw like a fucking cartoon character. All you have to do, it's the easiest guy in the world to book. All you have to do is just send him out there for the first few weeks and let him throw people around and showcase his strength and his agility. Even looking at somebody his size doing a fucking leapfrog drop down. I mean, if Isiah Kassidy does that, who cares, right? Because he's a small guy. But Keith Lee can do things in the ring that makes you go, huh, that's pretty cool. That a guy of his size can pull that off. It's the easiest guy in the world to send out there and book. But you would never know it the way that he was used in WWE. I would love to see him turn around and shove it down their throat. As far as the first night goes, so far so good. We had a video promo recapping the Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, Mercedes Martinez feud next week. Thunder Rosa is going to face Martinez in a no disqualification match, which is exactly the way that it looked coming out of that Rampage show on Friday. I said we're probably going to set up either a street fight or a no DQ match. So it's basically what it is. No DQ is basically a street fight. We had FTR taking on CM Punk and his mystery partner, which turned out to be Jon Moxley. Now, after the opening segment with Punk and MJF, when MJF said you got to go find a partner and it can't be Sting and it can't be Darby, Punk went on Twitter. I don't know if you saw him from his Twitter page. He was tweeting at Samoa Joe, "Are you in the country?" And he was tweeting at Danhausen, "Are you available?" And when I saw the tweet to Joe, I figured it wasn't him. But holy shit, if the thought didn't cross my mind after that opening segment. As I went over in my head, I said, there's no way it would be Colt Cabana. So you could put him on the side. We know it's not Sting. We know it's not Darby. So who else would it be? Danielson? Not really, because Danielson's kind of a heel now, right? He's still playing heel. Well, then maybe it's another name. Maybe Tony Khan has a third surprise up his sleeve. And I thought of Samoa Joe. And I said, can you even fucking imagine if CM Punk comes out and introduces his mystery partner and storming down to the ring, marching down to the ring, towel around his neck, pissed off scowl on his face. Here comes Samoa Joe to be tag team partners with CM Punk. I tried not to get my hopes up too much. Just the idea of them teaming together, I thought would have been very cool. But that would have been something. But I didn't get my hopes up too much on that. So when I saw Moxley, I said, okay, that's fine. That's all right. So Moxley and Punk worked together until a distraction from Cash Wheeler allowed FTR to take control of the match. Part of the story is they were going after Punk's leg. So Punk had to sell the leg throughout the match. He did get the tag to Moxley, who hit a double DDT to both members of FTR. Punk went for a dive outside. Both FTR members caught him. Well, here comes Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley hits the ropes, and he does a dive, and he knocks everybody down. So now all four guys are down on the outside. We go into a break. During the break, they came back and showed a replay. FTR powerbombed Jon Moxley through the timekeeper's table. And then he barely made it back into the ring before the count of 10, but he did make it back in. So now FTR isolated Moxley for a while. This is where things really picked up. A lot of great near falls here, back and forth. A lot of action between these two teams. Never a dull moment. There were no long rest holds or anything like that. Moxley fired up at one point with a big lariat out of the corner. He got the hot tag to CM Punk. Punk hit that rising knee bulldog combo that he does. Tagged in Moxley. He got Harwood up in the electric chair position, and Punk hit a doomsday device. On the floor, Wheeler hit a swinging DDT before grabbing the ring bell. Punk in the ring had rolled up Dax. Dax kicked out, and when Punk fell forward, Wheeler whacked him with the ring bell, and they got a great near fall out of it. They had me convinced. Great near fall. Punk got the shoulder up just in time. Punk went for the GTS after recovering, but FTR turned it into the big rig. Moxley was able to get in to break up the pin. That might have been the first time that big rig did not get the win. I can't remember every match they've had, but I don't remember anybody kicking out or getting hit by the big rig and then the fall is interrupted. That may have been the first time. Punk and Moxley were trying for their finishers. FTR fought out of it. They went for a stuffed pile driver. Moxley, though, broke it up. And Punk rolled through a crossbody into the Anaconda Vice. Cash Wheeler was frantically, feverishly tapping out. And Tully Blanchard gets into the ring. And this was the only blemish for me on this entire match. Tully Blanchard gets into the ring. And he distracts Punk. He's got his suit jacket. And he's hitting Punk in the face repeatedly with it. And Punk is he's looking up at him and he's smiling. He's amused by all this. Punk gets up and he goes to pick him up for the GTS. I don't know if it was just the way that Tully went up or the fact that maybe Punk misjudged how heavy Tully is. Tully doesn't look like a heavy man. Arn is a lot heavier than he is. But maybe he misjudged it. I don't know. But Punk lost him. As he went to pick him up, he lost him. He kind of bobbled him. Didn't look great. Then he got him up, and he hit the GTS. Hey, Jared, what's going on? Jared joining us tonight, dropping $35 here on the stream. Dropping 35 for Christian's LASIK surgery. There you go. Christian's still searching for his peeps. Christian, has Christian disappeared? We don't get to see Christian very often on TV. Whatever happened to Christian? I thought this guy outworked everybody. Wasn't that his slogan? Outworks everybody, takes every week off. Guy's a slacker. I thought he was supposed to outwork everybody on the roster. Fucking liar. So he did end up hitting Tully with the GTS, but none of this looked particularly good. But in the end, Moxley and Punk both hit their finishers at the same time. The GTS, the paradigm shift, they picked up the win. I love this match. This was a fun match. I thought this was just excellent tag team wrestling from one of the very best teams in the world right now in FTR. And it was fun to see Punk and Moxley join up. I don't recall them ever being partners together before. I mean, obviously not in AEW, but anywhere. I do remember them working a match, though, in NXT, either NXT or it might have still been FCW at the time. There was a match in developmental where Punk, I think, actually, he was maybe visiting, and he actually volunteered. He wanted to work against Jon Moxley, and they had a match. And that outside of the Shield stuff that came on the main roster, I don't recall the two of them working together. But this was a lot of fun, and now, of course, CM Punk has earned himself a rematch with MJF. They did not say when. We all know when it's going to be. It's going to be at Revolution. The only question now is, what is the stipulation? Because MJF gave him the power to pick the stip. Is he going to make it a steel cage match to keep Wardlow out? Is he going to bar Wardlow from ringside? I don't think he should be doing that. I think you want Wardlow there, or at least allowed to come out, because I still say Wardlow is going to end up trying to help MJF. It's going to backfire, and that's how Punk is going to end up getting his win back. So that's the only question, really, is what stipulation is CM Punk going to pick? We had Jade Cargill defending her TBS championship in a TBS Title Open challenge against free agent A.Q.A, making her AEW debut. She is the former Zeta Ramir. If you don't know who she is, or maybe you think, oh, she kind of looks familiar to me. She looked familiar to me. I'm looking at her and the hair and everything, and I said, I know this woman from somewhere. And that's where I know her from. She was Zeta Ramir. She made a few appearances in NXT. I recall a match that she had. I want to say it was against Toni Storm. And she hit her shooting star press to Toni Storm in that match. Her shooting star press is what she has become known for. It's like her calling card. She's a student from Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. They helped train her, so that's where she comes from, if you don't know who she is or where she's from. So like I said, the shooting star press is really her move. That's her go-to finish, and she hit the shooting star press on Jade Cargill, but she couldn't get the win. Jade kicked out, so she climbed back up to try to go for a second one, and Jade stopped her, propped her up in the opposite corner. Jade caught her coming off. She tried to come off with a crossbody. It looked a little, I don't want to say botched, but it looked a little wonky. A lot of this did not look smooth. Smooth is a good word. If you were looking for smooth ring work, this was not the match for you. There were some herky-jerky parts. This was one of them. But what was interesting is, as A.Q.A came off the ropes and Jade kind of caught her, she ended up hitting Jeff Cobb's Tour of the Islands. I don't know if that was the plan, if she had intended to slam her down that way, but that's basically what she gave her. Remember the old Matanza Cueto from Lucha Underground? Jeff Cobb still does the move, Tour of the Islands. So she dropped her with that move and finished her off with the Jaded for the win. This was a bit of a struggle. This was not a completely bad match, but it had bad parts to it. These two looked like two women who had never worked together before. And there were a couple of points where I could hear the referee giving them cues, and I could hear Jade talking to her. So I'm hearing this, and it's like they're really just trying to get through this without, fucking anything up. It was a struggle in there, and I think back to something that Tony Khan said in the last few days. I don't know if it was on Busted Open or if it was somewhere else, because he's given a few different interviews. But he asked Bryan Danielson, he specifically went to Danielson and asked him to start working with Jade Cargill behind the scenes. And I think that is a great idea. And that's one of the great assets to having someone like Bryan Danielson working for your company, is that you have these inexperienced people. You can take a CM Punk. You could take a Bryan Danielson. It's why I think a William Regal could be very beneficial behind the scenes. Doesn't even have to be an on-air character. But even somebody like him could be very helpful, I think, to a lot of these younger male and female talents that they have behind the scenes, because these are people that have a wealth of knowledge and experience that can be shared with these people. So the thought of Bryan Danielson mentoring and maybe even helping to, I don't know if train is the right word, but just kind of assist her, is not going to be anything but a positive thing for Jade Cargill. She still has a ways to go. The woman looks like $1 million. She walks out there with that TBS title. She comes down to the ring. The woman is a fucking star, and she'll get there at some point. She'll be the number one woman in this company, and she'll be a lot better off than she is today because she's still learning. But I mean, outside of how green she is in between the ropes, this woman, her charisma, her presence, everything about her presentation, her look, the woman is a fucking star. So all she needs is somebody like a Bryan Danielson to be in her ear behind the scenes and give her guidance on what to do and what not to do. Or, after a match like tonight, maybe they go back and he says, okay, here's what you did wrong. Here's what you can improve on. So I love that. I think that's a great idea that Tony Khan had. If he went to Danielson and say, hey, come here, I have a favor to ask you. I want you to start working with her. Believe me, There's nothing bad that could come out of Bryan Danielson trying to work with Jade Cargill behind the scenes. So we had back-to-back women's segments on this show. We had the Serena Deeb 5-minute rookie challenge. This is a new gimmick that they're doing. The Professor challenge. The Professor, Serena Deeb. She took on Katie Arquette, who they said last competed on AEW Dark about 6 months ago. So we haven't seen this woman in AEW in half a year. And she shows up tonight. This is all about bringing on a rookie. Someone who's still new to this to go in there, who can hang with Serena in 5 minutes or less. I believe Katie Arquette, and I heard the name, and I looked it up, and I believe that she is the niece of David Arquette. I believe there is a relation there. This did not go very long. In fact, this went about a minute. And Serena uppercutted her in the corner. She hit a neck breaker. She locked on a single leg crab, and she picked up the submission win. So this was very brief. Part of me thought for a second that maybe they were running low on time for the main event, and so that's why it went so short. But that's the whole point of this, is it's a 5-minute challenge. And she's in there with rookies. This is not meant to go very long. But it's a way to get her on the show. I like Serena. I think Serena Deeb is great. I think we need to see more of her on the show. So if this is their way of getting her on TV, then I'm okay with it. And that brings us to our main event. We have Hangman Adam Page defending his AEW World Championship against the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer. The only way to win is by knockout or submission. Those are the only rules. And the fight started in the back. So before anybody could even make their entrance, they cut to the back and they're already going at it. There's already a brawl in the back. Now, Hangman has not had very many matches since winning the title. He won the title from Danielson on January 5th. They had that 60-minute draw back at Winter is Coming. They had the rematch at the beginning of last month. He won the championship. Both of them were excellent matches. And we have not seen Hangman wrestling too much since then. But tonight was his best match as champion so far, even though he hasn't had very many of them. So he is fighting this man in the back. And they brawl through one of the entrance tunnels out onto the stage. And the bell rings. So we are now officially underway. We're not even waiting for these guys to get in the ring. They're on stage. The bell rings. Here we go. Hangman hits him with a belt shot, hits him with the championship. And he throws Archer into a glass door that was part of the other entrance tunnel. So you talk about something that felt completely manufactured. Why was there a glass door in the other entrance tunnel? It's right next to where the announcers are. So Jim Ross is asking Tony Schiavone, are you okay? Did you get any glass on you? Yeah, I'm fine. But I'm watching this, and they showed the replay from the other side. So you see Archer going through the glass. The pane of glass shatters. And I'm just thinking, why is there a door? Who put that there? No explanation for why. It's just there. It's not even like it was in a different area where they were like putting together a special set for tonight's show or anything. Then I can kind of understand it. But this was kind of goofy. But Archer, I'll tell you what was not goofy. Whatever kind of glass it was. I don't know if he cut himself for real. I don't know if he bladed at some point in there. I only say that because I think back to like Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon. There are matches where glass is used. Maybe it's sugar glass. Maybe it's not. Guys get cut up from glass. Believe me. It is not that hard to get cut up from glass. So I don't know if it was hard way or not, but Archer came up bloody. And Hangman brought him down to the ring. And he hit him with the buckshot lariat. So we're only in the opening, not even 2 full minutes of this match. And Hangman just hit him with his finish. Now, there's no pin, so he can't pin him. So he takes him down with the buckshot. Archer rolls out to the floor. The referee starts laying on a count. It's like a last man standing rules. And he starts to count him. And he gets up. He beats the referee's 9 count. And he gets back in. Hangman comes through the ropes with a suicide dive. Archer obliterated him with a trash can lid. He whacked this fucker right in the head as he came through. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ring, Dan Lambert shows up. He jumps up on the ring apron. And he starts to loosen the metal rod that holds the top rope in place. And he removes the metal beam. Now, we were told that he's doing this. A very perceptive Excalibur informs us that the reason he's doing this is to take away the buckshot lariat, because if you take away the top rope, then this guy can't, propel himself. He can't springboard into the ring and hit his finishing move. So while Lambert is working on that, the fight spills into the crowd. Hangman hits a standing moonsault off one of the barricades down onto Archer. When Hangman brings him back down to the ring, there's no more top rope. He realizes there's no more top rope. It's just laying there on the mat. They go to a break, and when they come back, there were two tables set up right next to each other on one side of the ring, side by side. Hangman was bleeding a gusher now. I didn't even see how it happened. I think I looked down, I was taking notes. Maybe they replayed it, but all I know is that he was bleeding more than Archer was now. One thing we've learned about Hangman Page in the last 60 days, 90 days or so, this guy bleeds a lot in his matches. But it's a Texas death match, and under these rules, it would be kind of weird if you had a Texas death match. It's kind of like when we have a Hell in a Cell match and nobody bleeds, right? It's like, well, I get it. That's fine. I mean, we don't need to see blood in every match, but when you have these brutal stipulations and they're putting over how barbaric the cage is and, oh my God, how awful and violent these matches are and nobody bleeds, it's kind of weird. So with this stipulation, it kind of makes sense. But Hangman is just bleeding a gusher. Outside the ring, Archer pulls up the protective mats, and Jake Roberts is out there. And while Archer is pulling up the protective mats, Jake gives Hangman the short arm clothesline. And he gives the signal for the DDT, and everybody's, cheering. And Archer stops him, which did not make Jake very happy. He wanted to hit the DDT. If he hit the DDT, I think that would have been the end of Jake. I know Jake is in a better place physically than he used to be, but I don't think hitting a DDT on the floor would have ended well for Jake Roberts. I think Hangman would have been fine. Jake might have had some trouble getting up, though. So Archer saved him some pain. He stopped him from hitting the DDT. And with this distraction, that gave Hangman the chance to hit Archer with a DDT on the floor. But he gave him a DDT on the mats, not on the exposed floor. Back inside, Page had a kendo stick. Each time he hit Archer with it, it seemed to make him stronger, so he just started teeing off on his head with it. And finally, Archer grabbed it away from him, broke it over his knee, and he chokeslammed Hangman onto a garbage can in the ring. Flattened the garbage can. Archer pulls out a fork. He pulls out a fork, not a spork. He pulls out a fork. Not like that Sporky guy from Toy Story. Pulls out a fork, and he starts banging away at Hangman's forehead. He's already bleeding like a fucking stuck pig all over the place. But he is poking away at Hangman's bloody forehead with it, just like Abdullah the Butcher. And then he puts the fork in his mouth and he licks it. It's fucking gross. I hate when, and I've seen plenty of matches where guys do that. They get the blood from the opponent, they wipe it on themselves. Wiping it on yourself is one thing. But when they take it and they fucking lick their fingers, the sickest thing I ever saw was Jimmy Jacobs in Ring of Honor. And if you were a Ring of Honor fan back in the day, you know the angle I'm talking about. Where the Briscoes were hanging upside down by their feet, blood dripping down. He's standing underneath them with his mouth open, getting the blood in his mouth. He's a sick fuck, that Jimmy Jacobs. I don't like shit like that. That's just fucking disgusting. Anyway, Archer hits a cannonball senton off the apron, wipes out Hangman on the floor. Archer then pulls out a chair from under the ring, wrapped in barbed wire. And Archer, after turning the ring steps over on their side. Now, this is the spot in the match where I thought Hangman was out of his mind. He was out of his mind for taking this bump, but he's very lucky he didn't get seriously hurt. So he puts the stairs on its side. And he goes on the apron, and he picks up Hangman for the blackout, which is his finish, which is that that front-facing razor's edge. And he goes to deliver the blackout onto the ring steps. And as he's doing this, for a second there, it didn't look like Hangman was going to be able to tuck his head in time. It's like he waited until the last possible second to tuck his head and go over and take the bump onto the steps. What he finally did. And this was very scary. Because had he not tucked his head, that would not have ended very well for Hangman Page. And then after he tucked and he landed on the steps, he took this really shitty. When I say shitty looking bump, I mean it looked great, but I'm sure for him it felt like anything but great. So Archer went for a power bomb back when he got him back in the ring. Hangman pulled the barbed wire though off the chair, that chair that Hangman almost got hit with before, the chair that Archer brought into the ring. He pulled the barbed wire off the chair and wrapped it around his own arm. And he used it as a weapon. He had his own little barbed wire sleeve. He started punching away at Archer with the barbed wire. And then came my favorite spot of the match. And it's great because they saved it for the end. They saved it as the finish. And it's funny, too, because I talked about Rampage last week. On Sunday, I talked about this. Said on Rampage, I love the finish of that FTW title match. They had a match between Jay Lethal and Ricky Starks for the FTW title. And Ricky Starks countered, he reversed the lethal injection attempt into his finish, into the Rochambeau, and it looked great. Great finish. And then there was a match on, was it on Raw? Might have been on Raw Monday night. I'm trying to think of which match it was. But there was a match on Raw Monday night also that had a great finish. And it was the AJ Styles Damian Priest match. That's what it was. Now, I enjoyed the finish to the FTW title match more. But there was a non-title match between Styles and Priest on Monday where AJ was on the apron. And Priest hit the ropes, and as he came off the ropes, AJ, he could not have timed this phenomenal forearm any better than he did. And he nailed Priest with the forearm. It looked great. So there have been a couple of cool finishes to TV matches over the last few days. You could add this one to the list. Dan Lambert had removed the metal rod, so there was no top rope anymore, right? So in theory, Hangman could not hit his finishing move. Paul Turner was the referee for this match. As he's bent over to try to pick up the barbed wire that they had just used, Hangman saw an opportunity. And he used Paul Turner, who was, again, hunched over. He used the referee as a vault. He used him as a rope to vault himself over and hit the buckshot lariat. And he connects with the lariat. He connects with Archer. Both men go tumbling off the ring apron, tumbling out of the ring. And they go through one of the tables, one of the two tables that were set up outside. One of the tables was still standing. They completely overshot that table. But the other table, they both went through at the same time. So him using the referee as a way to vault himself out for the buckshot lariat, I thought was a very clever finish. And both men went through the table. They're down. The referee starts his count. Hangman was able to make it back in before the count of 10. And so Hangman Page retains the AEW World Championship using his finishing move, even though there was no top rope. I liked that finish a lot. I thought the match was excellent. This felt like a war. When this was over, their world champion felt like he was in a fucking war. Blood was spilled. Tons of weapons and debris all over the place. But I thought the finish was very well done. I don't think it was ever in doubt. I know some people are going to, who are Lance Archer fans are going to look at this and go, oh, he loses again. Now what are they going to do with Archer? I don't know. But the fact is, Hangman should not be losing right now. The earliest that Hangman should lose is Revolution. And I'm not even sure he loses at Revolution. I would, if it's me, I would give him until Double or Nothing. I think I had said that I see him losing to MJF. And I still stand by that. But there was no way that he was losing the championship on the show tonight. So when they announced the match, you knew that Lance Archer was not coming out of here with the win. And one of the reasons that you knew that Hangman was not losing the title is because they had to set up the match, the real main event for Revolution. As great as this match was tonight, this is not the kind of match that would have, I think, gotten a lot of people excited if you said, Lance Archer and Hangman Page are going to headline Revolution this year. You had to come up with a more marquee match. Adam Cole said that he had something to tend to earlier when he left the Bucks. Well, he had business with Hangman Page to tend to because he came down to the ring. He grabbed the championship belt out of the referee's hands. We didn't know what he was going to do. And what he ended up doing was placing it over the shoulder of Hangman Page. So last week, he flat out said he wants to go for the AEW World title. I've been putting this guy's name out there for weeks and weeks and weeks. Even people thought I was nuts. He lost to Orange Cassidy. How is he going to challenge for the world title? I said, oh, he's buried. He's buried. He's buried. Oh, boy, yeah. He must be really buried. He's on his way to the fucking main event of the pay-per-view next month, the challenge for the world championship. People don't understand the definition of the word buried. They just love throwing it out there. Somebody lost the match. Oh, they're buried. This guy lost to Orange Cassidy. Oh, he's buried. Even though Orange Cassidy is one of the most over baby faces they have in the entire company. Now, I don't necessarily get it. I'm surprised, frankly, that he's still as over as he is after all this time. He's not my favorite. But let's try not to pretend like Orange Cassidy is some kind of, jobber on the roster that Adam Cole got pinned by a few weeks ago. In a non-sanctioned match, mind you. Which in AEW storylines doesn't even count towards the rankings that they love to talk about. So, yes, we can finally put to bed this notion that Adam Cole is buried. Not only is he set up now for a championship match at Revolution, once they make it official, it'll be him and Hangman Page. It's just a foregone conclusion at this point, clearly. But he is right in the thick of things when it comes to this storyline that is developing with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, because when Kenny Omega is ready to come back, he is going to see that Adam Cole has sort of taken over and has made certain decisions that would not have been made if he was around. And that's where you begin to build to something with Hangman, or not Hangman, but Omega and Adam Cole, with Omega and the Bucks against Cole and Fish and O'Reilly. And you just go from there. And who knows now where Jay White fits into the picture, right? Jay White is sort of now the wild card, depending on how long he's going to stick around for. He's got history with all these guys. The Bullet Club connection. So Adam Cole is going to be just fine. Even if he doesn't win the title at Revolution, he's going to be just fine. But he is in prime position now to challenge for the championship at Revolution next month. So when this show was over, I thought, like I said, easily the best show they've had all year on television. I thought it was an excellent show overall. And now we go to Rampage on Friday. They've announced for the show on Friday, the Young Bucks taking on Roppongi Vice. We've got Hook taking on QT Marshall's top student. Apparently this person's name is Blake Lee. Lee or Lie, I think it's Lee. Britt Baker against Robin Renegade. I don't know who that is. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus against Gun Club for the AEW Tag Team titles. And Bryan Danielson speaks. So that is the lineup for Friday night show. Next Wednesday on Dynamite, we have Chris Jericho and Jake Hager taking on Santana and Ortiz. We've got Mercedes Martinez one-on-one with Thunder Rosa. That will be no disqualification. So those are the lineups for the next couple of AEW shows. Let's go to the AEW poll. This is for tonight's show. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What did you think of the show? I'd say that's a pretty good reaction. Almost 92% thumbs up. That 8% thumbs down. You can vote right now. Right now. Go! At Solomonster is the handle on Twitter. Almost 2,000 votes. I'm telling you, there was a lot of interest in this show tonight. One of the reasons that I am actually quite curious to see where the numbers lie. I try to duck for cover a lot of times when the ratings come out because Twitter just turns into a complete and total shit show. I mean, I kind of get in. I get in there to get the news and I get the hell out because it just turns into a total dumpster fire. And I'm sure that tomorrow will be no different. Now, let me also just mention here, before we get to your super chats, I want to just mention this. Originally, I was planning to do our next call-in show for channel members tomorrow night. I'm pushing it back by a week. So just a little programming note. If you are a channel member here, and I know we've picked up a couple of new ones tonight, so welcome. If you are a channel member here on YouTube. Next Thursday, and I'll remind everybody again next week, but next Thursday, probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock Eastern, live on YouTube for our members. We'll have the next call-in show. I figure it's better to do it then anyway because it's a couple of days before the Elimination Chamber, after the final Raw is already over and Dynamite's over next week. So if you have any questions for me, comments about AEW, the new debuts, the chamber, predictions, anything like that, we'll talk about it. We'll hang out with our channel members. So that's next Thursday. So if you are not a channel member, you've got time to get in on it. Otherwise, you're not going to be part of all the fun. So that is a little programming note for next week. There's the Ultimate Warrior. What 2K game is that from? That's one of my... I love that super chat, but I can never remember what 2K game that glitch is from. There's been so many of them. There's been so many bad ones. I can't remember which one it's from. But yes, this is, for those who are new, we do have some new subs here tonight. I do read your super chats. Super chats are not required, but you guys keep this channel all oiled up and running like a fine-tuned engine, supporting me in what I do, and I thank you for that. I appreciate that. So I do read your messages here. We'll go through them. 2K14, Fire Panda says that the Ultimate Warrior image was from 2K14. I think my all-time favorite glitch... There was a WWE game many years ago. I think it was Vince McMahon outside the ring, and he had the ring steps. And I don't remember if it was Sergeant Slaughter or somebody was in the ring, and he threw the ring steps in, and it hit the guy in the head, and I think it bounced off the guy, came back out, and then bopped McMahon on the head, and I think they both went down. I fucking died the first time I saw that. We need some fun glitches like that in 2K22. Because I'm planning to play that game next month. I'm all ready. It should be good. I'm looking forward to bringing back Sound Off Gamer. Anyway, Lord Frieza with the $4.99. I'm sure you guys have a lot to say about what we saw here on these here on this show tonight. Will Gag, that's fine, man. You don't have to vote. I got the results here for you. He said he doesn't do Twitter or Instagram. You know what? I think you're the one who has the you're the one who has the right idea. You probably are able to maintain your sanity. Lord Frieza, what's going on? He says maybe I'm in the minority, but Tony Khan needs to stop hyping these debuts so much. I feel it only does damage to whoever is showing up. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. I was concerned coming into the show tonight, how you got to be careful not to overhype and underdeliver. There are people who are going to look at Keith Lee and Jay White and say, that's a disappointment. I was expecting somebody bigger. These are probably the people who, got names like Jeff Hardy in their head or fucking Shane McMahon or something like that. Just think about it. I mean, who else would it have been? If it wasn't Keith Lee or Karrion Kross or someone like that who was recently released, then what were you expecting? But that's the problem. When you hype up all these surprises and, a top wrestler and the Forbidden Door, ooh, you got to make sure that you've got the names to back it up. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. You have to know the fans they're going to start coming up with all kinds of scenarios in their head. I mean, Tony Khan, he's a fan. He knows how this works. He's not a dumb guy. For me, to see Keith Lee out there doing his thing tonight was very cool. Jay White was the first name I thought of last week, and I think it's great to get him involved in AEW. So for me, it was the kind of names that I was expecting. I had no expectations about Jeff Hardy or Mustafa Ali, who is still under contract to the company. They're not even letting him out of his contract. I mean, how do you get around that fact, Shane McMahon. I laughed at all the people who were, Shane McMahon is all elite. I mean, these people. Again, it became the new Cody is going to be in the Royal Rumble. It's like, you try to tell people, but they don't want to hear it. They just get these ideas in their head. And then when they don't show up, they wonder, that was so disappointing. Oh, gee, I wonder why. I can't imagine why. Mr. Notorious Dez going to Dynamite in Bridgeport, Connecticut in a few weeks. Nervous about the fan reaction since this is WWE territory. Well, you got nothing to worry about because New York has always been WWE territory. New York, look, for years going back to the 70s and the 80s, that's how people referred to the WWF at the time. It was New York. You're going to New York. Well, AEW came into their backyard a few months ago at Arthur Ashe. and they blew them away. 20,000 people at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Right? Think back to November, early December, WWE running their first show at that new building out on Long Island, the new arena. They had to do 2-for-1 deals and put Roman Reigns on a Raw show just to try to move tickets. AEW blew them out of the water in terms of ticket sales. First time in that building. So AEW going into WWE territory so far has been just fine. So I think you're going to be fine in Connecticut in a few weeks. I wouldn't worry about it. Food Hive. Protect Jake the Snake at all costs. Well, just don't take any DDTs on the floor. Because I don't think he'll be getting up if he does. Griga with the $1.99. Thank you, Griga. Hey, Lil Alien Boy. Just subscribe to the channel. I love my little alien boy. Canadian Oddball. Damn it, pal. How will they tell two Adams apart? Hey, you know what? I just realized we had Keith Lee and Adam Cole on the same show, and one wasn't managing the other. Maybe Tony Khan will make Adam Cole the new manager for Keith Lee. Tell him to cut his hair, shave his head. Yeah, that'll get over. Andrew Lima with the $5. The second Keith Lee took his jacket off to reveal a bare upper body, I nearly cried. Well, let's not get weird about this though. I try not to obsess over what these guys are wearing so much, unless they're wearing a fucking dress or, you know, fucking cat claws on their gear. Anti-M Bishop. Hello, Solomonster. Nothing to say except AEFNW. Smash that like button because he's the Solomonster, damn it. Yes, I'm Mojo Rawley hyped. All the best. Well, Anti-M Bishop looks like he's in a good mood. Prince Walker with the $1.99. My father passed away. I'm sorry to hear that because I'm home on leave and I was watching tonight with my mom and stepdad, and they are instant fans of Keith Lee. Well, I am very sorry to hear that, Prince. That is awful. I know that pain, and it sucks, and anything I can do. Keep you company here on the stream tonight. It's the least I can do, but there's nothing I can say. That's all I can tell you, you know. There's nothing anybody can really say. But I'm glad that they enjoyed Keith Lee at least. At least they found something they liked on the show, so that's good. But again, my condolences. King Bling Blah, $1.99. Buy or sell, AEW does 3-hour special Dynamites. Sell. Rodimus Prime with the $35 Super Chat Dry. Is that one of our new ones? I think that might have been one of the new ones I set up. Hey, look at this. Mr. J, 33352. Just became a Sound Off channel member. Mr. J. Maybe Mr. J will call in next Thursday on the call-in show. If not, we do these time to time. The call-in show is something new that we've just started recently. We used to do calls on the main streams, but it made them too long, and I wanted to save them as something separate. So I figured, let's give it to our channel members. Let's give it to the ones who support the most. Rodimus, thank you for the 35. He says, an amazing show tonight. If tonight's show does not hit 1 million, then we have a problem. Plus, with the addition of Keith Lee, let's all bask in his glory. Well, I'm just wondering, are there going to be any excuses tonight? Because last week, everybody was trying to make South Park or some NBA game that did okay, you know. Well, that's why AEW didn't do well. Doesn't matter. AEW was hyping up CM Punk against MJF for at least a couple of weeks for that show. They should have done a better number. I don't want to hear the excuses. So, was there anything... I guess the Olympics are on, right? Okay, so the Olympics are on. I don't see there being a terrible amount of overlap, though, between that and the AEW audience. I could be wrong. Is there anything else that people might use as an excuse tonight? Is there anything that I'm unaware of that was on television, Olympics aside, that could be used as an excuse tomorrow? I could just see the excuses now. There should be no excuses. This show should do well. There's really no reason for it not to. Michael Hilliard, AEW has made watching wrestling fun and exciting again. I watch Dynamite live every Wednesday. I Stopped watching WWE live a few years ago, not even on DVR. What an episode, and what a main event. Michael, thank you for the $9.99, man. I appreciate that. Marcus Robinson Johnson with the $5. Switchblade Jay White and Keith Lee debuting on AEW tonight. It is time people acknowledge Tony Khan. Isaiah Roca, here's to Hook, single-handedly murdering the entire factory, QT included. Oh, he will. He will. If I'm AEW, I'm giving Hook a match at Revolution. I'm putting him in the ring with QT Marshall, and I'm having him go in there and fucking murder the guy. That's what I'm doing at Revolution. I'm putting Hook in a match, and it's against QT Marshall. The only time a QT Marshall match will be acceptable on pay-per-view. Fried chicken without flavor. Shirtless Keith Lee is back. Samoan Fan 101. Last week you said that Edge has had more matches than Christian since they both returned. I looked it up. Edge has had 15 and Christian has had 23. It don't feel that way. Does it feel that way? It doesn't feel that way to me. And I'm wondering if has Christian been wrestling any matches on Dark? I'm wondering where all these matches are coming from. Because the only times I've seen Christian in recent weeks it's like he's the agent for Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. And I think it's fine, trying to put over Jungle Boy. And I mean, that's great. But I'm telling you, the guy came in, he said he was going to outwork everybody. And he just seems to be taking it easy. Yeah, we have over 1,300 still live with us. We got to get those likes up. Let's try to hit at least 600 here. Before I leave tonight, I would love to hit at least 600. Let's see if we can make that happen. That would put a smile on my face. Flamethrower with the $5. I love the main event. The heels trying to take the buckshot out of the equation early was a nice touch. It was. You know what it was? It was storytelling. That's what it was. They told that was a story they told from the beginning until the end. Your local neighborhood metalhead just subscribed. Maybe he can go hang out with our little alien boy. Naif Al-Safar, thank you for the $4.99. Samoan Fan 101, AEW, Limitless Keith Lee, WWE, Limited Keith Lee. Magician Sapphire with the $10 super chat. My man Bearcat making a huge splash in his AEW debut. That match was insane. Red Emissary of Darkness, Adam Cole looked like my 8-year-old brother holding a title belt. Please do not give him the belt. It will look embarrassing for fuck's sake. I've been hearing from a lot of people who actually think that Adam Cole looks smaller now than he did in NXT. And I'm wondering if it's because there were other smaller guys in NXT. So it wasn't as noticeable. But then again, there's a lot of small guys on AEW television as well. So I'm not sure what, I'm not sure exactly why it kind of feels like he is smaller than he was the last time we saw him, unless he just has completely given up working out. Maybe he just said the hell with it. I don't feel like working out anymore. I don't know. Maybe he's unable to bulk up. Remember the whole thing with Chris Hero? When Chris Hero started to gain weight, I think he talked about having some kind of medical condition or something, and he wasn't able to get the weight off or something. Maybe Adam Cole is allergic to lifting weights or something. I don't know. He's shrinking. Yeah, Corey, he is. He's the incredible shrinking man. I mean, it doesn't bother me so much because he's a great fucking wrestler. But then again, I have, we still haven't seen him in the ring with a lot of people. So we'll see. We'll see if it becomes a noticeable thing in his matches that I start to pick up on more. But yeah, he is not a very big man. Joseph Brooks, do you think John Cena could have had a heel run, title run in 2003? He was starting to get over with the rapper gimmick, and he had a title match against Brock Lesnar. No, it was too early. It was too soon. Brock was the guy at that time. Brock was the right guy at the right time. I would not have done that any differently. Corey Blake, great promo by Santana tonight. Finally glad to see that Santana and Ortiz are going to break out on their own, man. That's the hope. That is the hope. They're teasing it. They have to see it through. The Inner Circle, they had a good run there for a while. It's run its course. And now it's time for them to move on and do their own thing, just like he said in his promo. Shaquille Oatmeal, $5 super chat. Solid episode of Dynamite. They for sure pulled the trigger on Jade way too soon. The TBS title would be perfect for what they're doing with Serena Deeb. That's why I said that I did not want her winning that tournament. I mean, I see big things in her future. I put Jade over a lot, but I said she would not have been my choice to win that tournament. I would have gone with someone like Ruby. And Serena would have been a great choice too, but if they wanted a babyface to win, which obviously they didn't, because we have two heel champions now, then yeah, I think that... you would have been okay going with Serena. Serena or Ruby would have been fine. Tuxedo T Servo, hey, thank you, brother, for the $5. I appreciate that. MHS with the $10. At the show, tag match was great. Moxley got a big reaction. Now I know why Rampage crowds are so lax. After 1 hour of Dark Elevation and 2 hours of Dynamite, the crowd, we are definitely tired. Yeah, it's a lot of wrestling. It's a lot of wrestling to sit through. Bliss fan, that is a very good question. Has WWE officially released Toni Storm? We never got clarification on that. I don't believe they have. I don't know. That's actually a really good question. Actually, you know what? Maybe they did, because I think Toni Storm posted something on Instagram a couple of weeks ago about taking bookings soon. And if that's the case, then yeah, she would have had to have gotten her release. But I don't believe she's commented publicly on exactly what it was. I mean, I think we could all fucking see what it was. But it is kind of strange how that worked out. If she did get her release, because you could walk out and fly yourself home. That doesn't mean the company's going to let you out of your contract. But if she's on social media talking about taking bookings, then she wouldn't be able to do that. And no independent company would touch her. Tony Khan, if he had to, he could always fight a lawsuit against WWE because he has as much money as Vince does. An independent promotion, though, is not going to take the risk of, not signing, but working with a WWE contracted talent. So if she starts taking independent dates, then there you go. There's your answer. Rizzo. Another great Wednesday with you guys. I hope you all find someone who is as obsessed with you as Ric Flair is with Becky Lynch. Yes, Becky Lynch continues to live rent-free in Ric Flair's head. It is pathetic. It is very sad. And it has me wondering if, maybe he wants to get with her. And he knows he can. Maybe he's frustrated. Maybe he's sexually frustrated. I mean, he is the nature boy, right? Right? Space Mountain. Woo! Right? It's all about the ladies. It's all about the women. He's separated now from his, I was going to say wife, but I guess they were never officially married. It's like there's some kind of weird sexual tension there. Maybe she won't fuck him, and so he's really upset. I can't figure out what other explanation there would be. I mean, the guy keeps ragging on this woman, I think, on every show that he does, from what I hear. I don't listen to the show, every show he does, but he can't get this woman's name out of his mouth. It's unbelievable. His daughter is doing just fine. His daughter's about to go to WrestleMania and headline night 1 against Ronda Rousey. So, I mean, what does this guy have to be so concerned about when it comes to Becky Lynch? I'm telling you. I think he wants to get with her. He wants to take her on a ride on Space Mountain. He can't do it, and so maybe she rejected him. Maybe she said no. And now he's very upset. I don't get it. Shaquille Oatmeal with the $5 super chat. And to take a page out of Paul Heyman's book, what would you call Jerry Lawler getting shot out of a submarine? Awful. Awful. Although that is very Paul Heyman. I won't read the rest of that, but that is a very Paul Heyman-esque super chat. SC Moy with the $10 super chat. The Jericho line about them not tagging him in and the fans paying to see him is almost word for word what he said in an interview about Punk and not tagging him in at a live event. LOL. So now he's reusing old content of his. Interesting. But look, it's a good line to use if the idea is to paint him as this egomaniac heel character on TV. So one can only hope, right? Willie Gag and Bob with the $5 super chat. Glad Lee was the first big name to come through. Wyatt next or Hardy? Hardy is definitely coming in. There's no doubt about it. So within the next month and a half, Jeff Hardy is going to be on AEW television. Bray Wyatt, I'm not so sure of. I've seen some recent photos of Bray. And he's not in the best shape that I've ever seen him. I don't know that he's in ring shape. Let's put it that way. I'm also not dying to see him come right away anyway. So, he could take his time. I heard he was doing movie stuff. Let him do that. There's plenty of names that have already debuted. Tony Khan has to find something for the existing talent to do. You can't just keep every single name. Let's bring in Bray. Let's bring in Braun. Let's bring in Ryback. Let's bring in all. Why don't you bring them all in? Can't do that. Got to focus on the guys that he's already got. And there's still more names that are going to be coming in. I don't think Bray is coming in just yet. I don't want to say ever, but I don't see him coming in just yet. Jeff Hardy, though, I guarantee. Jeff Hardy is a guarantee. Jeff Hardy is basically already there. He just hasn't officially signed anything yet because legally he can't. Blissfan says Bray has always been plumpy. Well, yes, but there was a period there while he was off last year. There were pictures of him, and he actually looked like he had slimmed down. And that does not appear to be the case anymore. So I'm just saying it doesn't look like somebody who is debuting imminently on television. We'll leave it at that. Dev to Dust. Happy birthday, Joe Pesci. Happy birthday to Joe Pesci. Or Shane McMahon looked like Joe Pesci walking into that room. Looking around. Goodfellas. What's going on here? That was Shane McMahon. They led him into the room. Poor guy got whacked. Team Forward, AEW should make Serena Deeb champion in the future. Be fine with me. Actually, Dev to Dust mentioned Joe Pesci. And that reminds me, before I went live tonight, I saw the TMZ story. I don't know how many of you saw it. But I saw the TMZ story about Bob Saget. Bob Saget passed away a few weeks ago. There was no cause of death. They did an autopsy and everything. And TMZ reported, and TMZ usually, when they report stuff like this, it's pretty much, pretty accurate. And actually, I think the family has since commented and confirmed that it's accurate. We now know what killed Bob Saget. And it wasn't a heart attack, and it wasn't a stroke, and it wasn't anything like that. He bumped his head, and they think what happened is it might have been on the headboard of the bed at the hotel that he was staying at, because there was a noticeable bruise, I guess, on top of his head or the back of his head that was consistent with it being bumped on something. He bumped his head and didn't realize that he had bleeding on the brain. And he went to sleep that night, not knowing how seriously he had bumped his head, obviously, and he died in his sleep. What a fucking way to go, right? The guy I remember he put a tweet out the night before. He was glad to be back on the road doing stand-up comedy again, and bumps his fucking head on the headboard of his bed and doesn't realize that he's got a brain bleed, goes to bed and doesn't wake up. It's awful. It's awful. Anyway, he mentioned Joe Pesci, and I just thought about, it made me think about Bob Saget, because I just read about that a few hours ago. Dried chicken without flavor. I would love to see Ronda Rousey in a GCW ring as a bad girl heel with a fuck-off attitude. I would rather see Ronda Rousey in WWE as a bad girl heel with a fuck-off attitude. Fuck GCW putting her there. Put her in WWE doing that stuff. That's at least something I watch every week. I have to sit here and watch Raw and SmackDown to review it for all of you people. That would be fun. Potentially, that could be very entertaining. You put it on GCW, that doesn't do me any good. She pops up 3 times a year doing this gimmick. That doesn't do me any good. Put her on SmackDown. Put her on Raw with that gimmick. I said on the show, Ronda Rousey would be a natural heel. But they want her to be a babyface, so that's what she's going to be. That promo on Monday night that she did last Monday was awful. And apparently they pulled her aside when it was over and they had a little talk with her because it came off very heelish and they don't want her to be a heel. I'm telling you, she's a natural heel. T-Mac 034 with the $5 super chat. As another one of T-Mac's super chats pops over the old super chat. So I will get to your first one first. 2 solid signings, but I'm worried how much longer AEW is going to keep relying on surprise arrivals to keep ratings and excitement for the brand up. Yeah, I mean it's become a go-to for Tony Khan. You can't overdo it, and in some ways he already has, but I think every now and then it's fine if you're going to bring somebody in. You want to tease it a little bit, make a big deal about it. That's fine. You can't rely on it too much, though. You don't want to over-rely on it because we went through this already a few months ago. We went through this period where you had Punk and you had Danielson, and it was like, oh my God, there was somebody new popping up every few weeks. Adam Cole. And then when it stops, it's like, oh, well, now what? Well, now you have to figure out what to do with these people. You could debut them, but then what do you do with them? Look at Jay Lethal. What has he done? Right? He's done nothing since he debuted. Andrade is starting to. I'm enjoying the Andrade segments where he calls Sting by a funny name and he calls Darby a kid. Well, we got to start getting him in the ring. Andrade is a great fucking wrestler, but we don't see him nearly enough. Miro is another one, but Miro's been hurt, so. But Lance Archer, for the longest time, he had nothing to do either. At some point, you got to start focusing on your existing talent and what to do with them, and not putting Brandy Rhodes in a segment like they did last week. Thankfully, there was no Brandy Rhodes Dan Lambert segment this week, but that time could be better spent. Steven Chappa with the $60 super chat drop from earlier. Steven, you are a monster. I thought Keith Lee was a beast tonight. You got to be talking about Steven. Dev to Dust. Goodfellas or Pulp Fiction? Happy birthday, Joe Pesci. I can't vote against Goodfellas. I mean, 2 great movies, but we got to go Goodfellas on that. Jared M, $35 super chat, thought Moxley was going to turn on Punk. Interesting. That thought never crossed my mind. Maybe I probably should have been thinking about that though, but no. I never thought that he was going to turn. I feel like we're still in that honeymoon phase since he came back. I think it would be too soon to do that. He's feuding with Danielson. Danielson's the heel. It wouldn't make any sense for him to turn heel right now. Unless, of course, he was going to accept Danielson's offer from last week to form a faction. The 2 of them were going to be together. Then he could turn heel, and he could join up with Danielson. But I don't see that happening before Revolution. Bearwolf with the likes update. We're about 80 likes away from 600. So let's get working on that. We're close. We're very close. I gotta pretend like my life is on the line here. I'm gonna blow up. We don't get to 600. You don't want to see me blow up now, do you? Dry chicken without flavor. AT&T commercial quote. It's not complicated. But WWE Creative does all the opposite when it came to Keith Lee. It's not hard to book a guy like Keith Lee. It's not hard. I really don't understand why they had to, jump through hoops. It was hoops of their own creation. They created a whole obstacle course when all you had to do is just let the guy go out there and do his thing. Triple H had it right in NXT. You already had proof of concept with this guy. They have to change everything they touch. Food Hive, C-Weight, WWE can't trademark BBC. I know a few websites as well as people that can lay claim to a BBC. My friend says that she loves BBC 3 times today. Oh, well, I don't know what that says about your friend. She might have to find a hobby. I mean, doesn't she get sore after a while if that's all she's doing all day? Anyway, Joseph Brooks with the $4.99. Let's say Scott Hall is clean and no problem. What would have been the best year for him to be world champion in either WWE or WCW? A clean and sober Scott Hall. I don't know, because in WWF, you know, Brett had it in 94, 95. Hey, Ida Edoris just subscribed. Thumbs up to, is it Eid or is it Ida? Let's say Eid. Welcome to the channel, Eid. I don't know, because Sean's time was 96, so he was going to get it no matter what. And I guess by that point, Hall was on his way out of the company anyway. In WCW, Hogan had a stranglehold on the belt. I mean, I don't really see a good time where realistically he would have even been given the opportunity, honestly, unless it was, if he had stuck around in WWE and was, again, totally clean and sober, I could have seen maybe a short run with it at some point. Maybe, you know, maybe he takes it from Sean. Right? They all looked out for each other. They were all buddies. If he had stuck around, maybe Sean would have been willing to put him over the way that Razor put Sean over in their 2 ladder matches. And instead of Sid getting the belt, maybe it would have been Razor. I don't know. It's hard to do these what ifs sometimes because everyone sort of had their moment where you squeeze him in. I'm not too sure. Not sure about that. That's a good question. Zombified guitarist. When was the last time someone actually got buried? I mean, when was the last time we had a buried alive match? Are you talking literally or actually buried? Oh, I don't know. Tony Storm took 2 pies to the face, uncontested, in a single night, and then wrestled Charlotte Flair and lost, and sat in the ring and cried about it. Sounds like a burial to me. Does she count? And Zombified says, when was the last time someone actually... He sent the same question twice. It was so nice, he had to say it twice. Well, I hope that gives you a good enough answer. Tuxedo says, Kofi against Brock. Yeah. I would say that's another great example. They did Kofi dirty in that match. They did Big E dirty, too. I wouldn't say they buried him completely. They didn't do him any favors, though. He went from being the champion to losing to Brock in that 5-way that Brock wasn't even supposed to be in. And then he went and wrestled Seth Rollins. The last match he ever had on Monday Night Raw. And he lost to Seth Rollins. And now he's back on SmackDown doing tag team duty. That's some form of a burial right there. Not the worst kind of burial, but they didn't do him any favors. Andrew Carroll, I woke up in the middle of the night again. Take my money. Buy, rent, or sell. Vince Russo, Bruce Pritchard, Michael Cole. Is that just a general buy, rent, or sell on... I mean, are we talking about them as human beings? Or are we talking about them professionally as far as what they do? You know, Russo had his day. Russo obviously was instrumental back in the Attitude Era. There were a lot of great memorable moments. The Zamboni moment being my personal favorite. I don't know. I assume that was a Russo idea that night. He made his contributions. After that, I can't think of a single contribution he made that I gave a shit about. Or a single contribution he made after that did the wrestling business any good. So, I'm going to buy on Michael Cole, because I don't really have a whole lot of tolerance for the other two. So how about we buy on Cole and we sell on the other two? How about that? T-Mac34, what's your favorite WWE game? Is it No Mercy? No Mercy for the N64. I never had the N64. Although No Mercy is widely regarded as the best WWE game or WWF game, for me it's WrestleFest, the original WrestleFest arcade game. I loved it. I love WrestleFest. Food Hive, Sweet Saudi Money 7, viewers discretion. Alex Jimenez, $10 super chat. Thank you for all your great content. Really doing us all a service. Going through a breakup right now. Your show cheers me up. God bless you, sir. Well, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that, Alex. Alex is sitting here listening to me talking about super chats and women liking BBCs and all this stuff, and I'm sure that's not doing a whole lot to cheer him up, but I hope that's not why you broke up. But no, everything will, you'll be okay. I think Alex is going to do just fine. I think Alex is going to land on his feet. But it sucks. It's a shitty feeling. I don't know how long of a relationship it was. The longer it is, when it ends, obviously that's worse because you've invested so much in it. But there will be others. There are other fish in the sea, I assure you. There are other better fish in the sea. James Cooper with the 1999. Look at James. Look at James coming through. What? What did I say? What did I say? Love the show tonight. Appreciate everything you do. Just hit a year at my job and been listening to your show since 2011. Stay safe, my friend. Can we get a little Vince Russo impression tonight? Oh, I just got asked about Russo. Well, congratulations on the new job. That's number one. Thank you for being a fan since 2011. That's over a decade. That's a long time. It's a long time. So thank you for that. And bro, I don't like doing this, bro. This isn't even my best impression, bro, but I could tell you stories, bro, about TNA. And bro, look, bro, there wasn't a moment in TNA with Dixie Carter when I was working with Dixie, I swear to God, bro, that this woman knew what she was doing. So you gotta slow it down. Russo gets to a point where it slows, right? The tone of his voice, he kind of slows things down. It's like he's losing steam a little bit. You do that and you put enough bros in there and you got it, man. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. It's not that hard, bro. It's not that hard. Dried chicken, my Super Bowl pick is Rams over the Bengals. Yeah, I'll have to do my Super Bowl prediction. I do it every year. I'll have to do it on the show on Sunday. Paul Heyman. Looks like Keith is all elite. Oh, Paul Heyman. That's one of your worst efforts. That's one of your worst efforts. You're trying too hard now with that. I'm very disappointed. Groovy Goose, if they don't get new people to join the inner circle, they may as well end it. It isn't getting younger talent over anymore, it's getting in their way. Very well said. Lil Alien Boy. He just became a channel subscriber, and now he's dropping a super chat. I've been watching your streams for a while, and I just realized I wasn't subbed because I could not chat. Well, now you know why you couldn't chat. Well, welcome to the chat. Yeah, we have it set up where you have to be a channel subscriber for at least a month before you can start chatting with all of us. So we're glad to have you here with our little crew, our little dysfunctional crew. Plus Ultra Adrian just saw Keith Lee's debut. It is refreshing seeing him without the stupid Bearcat crap. Mr. J33352. Buy or sell. Jim Johnston from WWF coming to AEW to make their music. I would love it. I think Mikey Ruckus does a very good job with a lot of the AEW songs. I mean, if there were a way for them to coexist and Maybe have Jim do a few songs. I think that'd be great. I think Jim Johnson would be a fantastic addition to any wrestling company as far as providing them with some theme music. I think, his portfolio, his record, his background speaks for itself. Darth Panic with the $5 super chat. Will the Bullet Club invade AEW? I think they already have. Seems like it to me. Groovy Goose, what a show, what a stream, what a night. Thank you. Hulkling93 with the $10. Solomonster, since you tend to have cereal for dinner, nothing wrong with that. Let me stop you. There is a misconception that all I'm doing every night is having cereal for dinner. There were occasions where I would have cereal for dinner. I don't generally have cereal for dinner. I have cereal every other day, maybe for breakfast when I'm not having eggs. I do have cereal like normal people in the morning for breakfast. Anyway, he says, I recommend Magic Spoon. 0 sugar, but still has the taste of cereal favorites. My favorite is the fruity flavor. Well, it is very, very funny that you mentioned that. I have a whole bunch of boxes of Magic Spoon downstairs, and I am going to be talking about Magic Spoon actually starting next week, probably when we go live after the Saudi Arabia show. Because Magic Spoon is the newest sponsor for the podcast. In fact, right here on YouTube, I'm going to be talking about Magic Spoon starting next week. So your timing could not have been any better with that. We've got Magic Spoon on board as the newest sponsor here for the Sound Off family. And from what I have tasted, you are absolutely right. It's like a children's cereal, but there's no sugar. And some flavors I like more than others, but I need to be able to try the product before I start plugging it and promoting it, and Magic Spoon is the real deal. I'll just say that. Magic Spoon is, if you've never heard of them before, you're about to hear about it. So, get ready if you are a cereal fan. You're going to be a serial killer when I'm done talking about them. Samoan Fan 101, thoughts on Ronda still being bitter about the fans? Well, remember what comment I made on Sunday? And I put the clip up here on the channel. I said, I went through the whole thing that happened a couple of years ago. And actually, it was more than a couple. It was in 2018, the match at Survivor Series against Charlotte. When it was over and people were chanting, thank you, Charlotte, when she was kicking the shit out of Rousey, and Charlotte was the heel. And then as Ronda is leaving that night, she's getting these chants of, you deserve it and all that. And she never got over it. It really affected her. And I wasn't sure how much of that was a work and how much of it was really, her being gotten to. But it sounds like she was pretty gotten to. And I think she has to understand. If she doesn't have an understanding about how wrestling fans are at this point, then she's completely lost. I mean, there's a way to tap into that and make it work for you. That's why I think as a heel, there's money in Ronda as the heel. Going off on the fans and saying, I don't need you, I never needed you, you're ungrateful. I think there's absolutely an opportunity to do that. I think she should take that and kind of bottle it up and use it and put it right back on the fans, but do it on TV. Make money off of them. That's how you do it. You gotta make money off of them. All great heels, they find a way to do that. T-Mac, that's horrible. Take care of yourselves, folks. I don't know if he might be talking about the Bob Saget thing that I mentioned. That is terrible. Steven Chappa, $4.99 super chat. Any luck finding that joint P.O. box from Tony Khan and Vince McMahon yet? No? Well, here is some direct cash to the man. Well, thank you, Steven. I am still waiting for my PIN number for the direct deposit account, the checking account. Again, I'm supposedly, I'm taking money from WWE. I'm taking money from Tony Khan. I still have yet to access these funds. You should see the comments I get. Apparently, I'm double dipping here. I'm taking money from every company here, and yet I haven't been able to touch a single dime. What am I doing wrong? Somebody's got to get me that PIN number. Hey, Near, what's going on, man? He says, Solomonster, you're the man. Much love from Israel. Good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. I hope today is a good day for you. MHS. Easy for me to say. Forgot to mention that Mike the Situation was in the crowd for Elevation and had a brief moment during one of the matches. Ugh. Why? I have no idea. I agree. I have no use for him. Any of those Jersey Shore people. Keep them away. Keep them away from my wrestling shows. Hey, Jay William. Wish her daughter a happy birthday for me. She's turning 13 on Saturday, so I hope that it is a great birthday and that you buy her a gift that she will like. Don't cheap out now. 13's a big number. I became a man at the age of 13, right? For girls, I guess it's 16, right? Sweet 16. But anyway, wish her a happy birthday from all of us here. Yeah, Tuxedo, I guess maybe they're sending me a check. They're going old school. The check is in the mail. Unfortunately, the postal service is very much behind. The mail is always delayed now. Fucking DeJoy. Louis de Dipshit over there. Gotta start getting my mail a little bit quicker here. Zach Masters with the $20. Just watching the main event right now. Archer pissed me off when he disrespected Jake. He took his moments. Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's not Jake's moment. It's Archer. He didn't take anything away from him. It was designed that way because Jake, he got the short arm clothesline. That was his moment. It's not his match. This is not Jake the Snake's moment. Jake the Snake, his moments are over. He had a whole career full of moments. It's time for Lance Archer to make his own moments. I can't be pissed at him. First of all, he's only doing what they were supposed to do in the match. It's not like it's not like he was shooting on Jake and stopping him from hitting the DDT. But, no, it's supposed to be Archer's moment. This is his match. It's his time to shine, not Jake. Jake is lucky to be along for the ride. Paul Heyman. Can this be the year that AEW gets into bed with Marty Scurll? No. I don't see that happening. Luis Belmont, oh look at this, he dropped two of them. Luis Belmont show with a $10 super chat. If Keith Lee had not been released from WWE, would he have become a Paul Heyman guy? No. And also, don't trust those Binax home COVID tests at all. I came out negative according to the city of Long Beach. Well, what does the Binax branded test have to do with the city of Long Beach? Luis, don't ever change. I know you had COVID, by the way. I assume you're feeling better, I hope. Last time you and I spoke was a few weeks ago. I know you had COVID, so hopefully you're feeling better. Food Hive, Sweet Saudi Money 7, Steady Regression. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I can tell. And Willie Gag and Bob, been a fan of yours myself since SE Scoops days. But I stopped watching WWE years ago and only just started watching AEW, plus I work nights. Yeah, SE Scoops, man, that's going back to the very beginning. It's going back to 2007. You know, the people who signed up for channel membership, if you're a Legends tier member, you have access to some of the earliest, actually the earliest audio. The first shows I ever did, first 12 of them, from 2007 into the beginning of 2008, are up right now. And I'm in the process of getting back to posting new ones. 13, 14, 15. The very first episode of SE Scoops Live. That was another show that I did, me and Noah Mark. We would do it after Raw Monday nights. You can't find this shit anywhere. And Legends members have access to the very first SE Scoops Live as well. You mentioning that made me think of that. So I just wanted to point that out for any new channel members on the top tier who may not have been aware of that. Because I don't think you get a notification about that stuff. You have to search it out, but it's up there. And I go back and listen to myself back then. I can't do it. But no, it's very cool that you go back a long way. And you'll have to let me know what you think. I mean, if you're first starting to get into AEW, do you like it? Did you like what you saw tonight? Share with me. I want to hear from somebody who has stopped watching WWE and is now giving AEW a chance. What do you think? Is AEW different enough for you that you're enjoying it or not? So you'll have to keep me posted. I'm curious what you think about that. Marcus in the chat says, shout out to TV Tracks. That's how I found out about Solomonster. Yeah, wherever he may be, TV Tracks retired a long time ago, many years ago, but he showed me and my show a lot of love. And there were a lot of people who got into the podcast because they first heard clips that I let him post on his channel back in the day. And yeah, you'd be surprised how many people learned about the Sound Off from TV Tracks. And not just the Sound Off, but other podcasts as well. Including, I'm actually glad you mentioned that. Don Tony. Right, the old Don Tony and Kevin Castle show clips were also posted on there for a while. And on that note, we hear all this talk about the Forbidden Door. Ooh, the Forbidden Door. Well, the podcaster's Forbidden Door is being opened in a couple of weeks because I'm going to be going on Don Tony's channel. And we're going to be doing a show together. We're going to talk a little bit of news. We're going to take questions from the viewers and hang out and interact, and he'll ask me whatever questions he wants to ask me. And so it's the first time we're doing this, especially on video, and it's going to be very, very cool. So that's coming up on Thursday, the 24th, on his channel. So I'll let you guys know as we get closer, and he will as well. But we're looking at Thursday, February 24th for that. So you're gonna see the Don and the Monster coming together on YouTube for one night only. It's going to be a very interesting experience. All right, so, Luis, chiming in, the Binax tests are sold at CVS. And yes, I feel better, sort of. Well, again, if the Binax tests are sold at CVS, I'm not sure what that has to do with Long Beach. We have Binax tests for sale in New York. I don't... Anyway. I'm glad you're feeling better. Food Hive with the $4.99. Be the Booker has a history of picking the exact wrestler that is in the news as being in the main event. I cannot wait to see if it continues. Well, since you mentioned it, actually, let me check and see where we are before I get into anything else here. We're still a little short. We're getting close though. 600 likes. We're still short. We're still short. But anyway, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. Actually, let me real quick here, just put the poll back up. For anybody who wanted to see if they missed before. Overwhelmingly positive, as you can see there. So tonight's show was a home run in the eyes of, I think, most people who are here. And I thought it was an excellent show. So if you missed it, I would definitely advise you to go back and check it out. You missed a good one tonight. Fawaz, my buddy from Saudi Arabia, who held up the Sound Off sign on the last Saudi show, right behind Roman Reigns. Dropping some super chat love. Fawaz, what is up, my friend? And Steven Chappa, $4.99. With New Japan joining the fray, I am guessing Bushy Road must be sending over some yen in that account as well. No, I haven't gotten any yen. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. No yen, no Bitcoin, or any kind of crypto. I don't do crypto. Too risky for me. 585, we're getting close. 585 likes. So, Food Hive mentioned Be the Booker, and for those who don't know, yeah, we do a little Be the Booker segment on the end of our streams here. It started as something that Zinfamous HD, shout out to @Zinfamous HD on Twitter, a couple of years ago, put up a tweet. It was just like a randomizer. And when you stopped it twice, it would be like that would give you your WrestleMania main event. It was just like a fun thing, and it's kind of addicting. And we've been doing that for a while, and we've been using the same images, over and over and over again. And I said, boy, we really have to change it up. I think it's past time to change it up. So I went and I did it myself. I sat here And I went through over 200 images, wrestlers, and cut each one and saved each one. And I had to print out a list. So because the program I use, you would think you could just randomize everything and then just lay it all out on a timeline and then just convert the video. Oh no, you couldn't randomize it. It was all alphabetized. I didn't want it to be alphabetized. So I had to go one by one by one by one by one. It was quite the chore, but it turned out well. And so tonight we are debuting an updated, brand new edition of Be the Booker for the men only. I don't have the ladies one done yet, but I'm working on that. It is taking up a lot of my time. I have a lot of work to do this week, but we are going to get to that here in a second. I know, Marcus. Yes. The program that you mentioned to me was actually different, and actually what you mentioned to me, I don't think it would have worked, because what I found is, I had to make it a video and not a GIF, because the GIF was too big. I couldn't even tweet it; it was too big. I didn't realize that you're only allowed GIFs on if you're posting one on Twitter. The biggest they can be is 15 megabytes, which is nothing. I think when I finally finished the final conversion, this one was like 150. It was like, okay, this ain't going to work. So we're going to have to go about this a different way. And I had to do it a different way. So, but I believe me, I appreciate the offer. But that wasn't going to work. Yes, Morphine, it was a very big pain in the ass. But the end result was worth it. Off leather wings, WWE booking is like trying to put a marshmallow into the coin slot. It makes no sense. I thought you were going to say like pouring smoke in a keyhole. Same thing, right? Same concept. Mr. J with the $5. Buy or sell. Bret Hart 1993 King of the Ring matches against Shawn Michaels and Undertaker WrestleMania matches. I mean, it's kind of an apples and oranges thing, I think. Right? It's we just hit 600. Bliss fans said we just hit 600 likes. Thank you. Now when I get out of here, we have to get all the people who come to the video. We got to get that up to 700. But thank you. 600 was the number I had spit out at you guys, and we just hit 600. So thank you for making that possible tonight. I appreciate that. We had a lot more than 600 people in here earlier, but some people watch on their TVs. I don't know how easy it is to like videos if you're watching it on televisions and stuff. So I guess not everybody can have access to the thumbs up all the time. But the Sound Off Army, they got me covered. You guys come through. 600 likes, says Uffman. Thank you. I just saw that. Thank you, Uffman. Look, I love all those matches. To me, it's not even really... The Bret Hart Perfect match is actually, I like that match better than their SummerSlam match. I love that match. That's one of those matches I could just go back and stop whatever I'm doing and watch it any moment. But it was really just more about all of the matches together and just his whole night at the pay-per-view. That was like the Bret Hart show that night. The Shawn Michaels matches with Undertaker, I think the two of them had the best match in WrestleMania history. The match the following year was also, excellent. The quality of those matches overall is better, I think, than the overall, like Bret against Razor and Bret against Bam Bam. So, I mean, if you put it in those words, I mean, I would go with Shawn and Undertaker. But, I mean, in terms of just the overall performance, top to bottom, I still go with Bret. I mean, the King of the Ring show in 93 is probably my favorite. So I can't vote against that. Food Hive says, I carry water for WWE. That is the funniest shit. Yeah. I heard that from more than one person. I'm trying to think of what it was that got those comments. I think I said something maybe about, what did I say? What could I possibly even, I don't even remember what I said about AEW. It wasn't even that terrible. I dared levy a criticism, I think, of some kind against AEW. And I made a comment the other day. I said, yeah, I carry so much water for these companies, apparently, that I should be working for fucking Poland Spring. You would think I was a fucking water boy. These people are morons. Bob the Builder with the $2 says, much love from Somalia. I didn't know that that's where you were, Bob the Builder. We have Bob on the streams every week. Well, thank you, Bob. I didn't know you were that far away. Yes, that's what it was. Groovy Goose, I think that's what it was. I mentioned the rate. And you know what's funny about that? I mentioned the rating when it came in last week, and it was disappointing. It wasn't even a tweet that I put out. I think I was replying to like something Brian Alvarez said. It was like a Twitter reply. But these people are insane. They're absolutely, they're demented, and they attack. I mean, the tribalism, it's really sickening. Drew Johnson, Solomonster, you're the man. Shawn Michaels against Undertaker, Hell in a Cell 97, greatest match of all time. Hard to argue, man. That's definitely in the conversation. I love that match too. It's amazing to think that they had that match in 97, came back in 2009, and look at the match they had at WrestleMania that year. They aged in that period. It's like they aged like fine wine, you know. And then Undertaker after that just kind of fell off a cliff. Zach Masters with the $10 before. I want to make sure I didn't miss him. LOL, I didn't think he was shooting. I'm just having fun. I hate the heel character of Archer. In regards to reality, it is cool seeing him on TV and healthy. I agree. He had that scary neck injury a few months ago. It's good to see him back. Yeah, you see, Willie Gagg says he watches on his TV sometimes, and he's not sure you can like the video. I don't know how you would do that. If you're watching on your television, if you're watching me on your television, how would you like the video? Unless you had your phone in your hand and you could like it that way. But yeah, there are a lot of people who watch on their big screens and stuff, and you know, I don't think there's any way for you to like or dislike a video that way. So it's all good. The ones who can. It's all good. Drew. Thank you for that. Remember, for 5 months. Sound Off Superstar for 5 months. Food Hive. Oh, he's at it again. Sweet Saudi 7. Dear God in Heaven. And now I have Abdul Rahman saying you can like on TV easily. So now I don't know what to believe. Marcus says I watch on my TV. Use the remote and hit like. Okay, so apparently there it is. Apparently you can like on a television. I don't know what to believe anymore. All right, I think I am caught up though on your messages now. I believe I'm caught up now. Although if any more come in, I will read them. But very excited now to debut the brand new Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
It is Be the Booker time. We have a brand new Be the Booker here for 2022. We're going to take this thing for a spin. It feels like a new car, right? It's like I'm pulling the car out of the lot for the first time. I'm taking her for a ride. It's exciting. So you guys know how this works. We're going to get the animation up on the screen, and I'm going to stop it twice. We're not doing the whole WrestleMania main event thing. We're just doing main event. I want to see what kind of main event match I am going to be able to book, and we're going to see how it turns out here. So let's bring it on up. Here it is, the new look, the new and improved Be the Booker. We got a lot of new options in here. See how many of them you can pick up on here. But here we go. Let's take this bad boy for a spin, and let's stop him right here. Ooh. We have the Blue Blood from Greenwich, Connecticut, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Look at it, all prim and proper. This was the early days of Triple. It's amazing to go back and look at him like this, because he just, people talk about Adam Cole being small and everything. Look at Triple H here compared to what he would be just 5 years later. The physical transformation. that this man went through. So we have different eras, by the way, of Triple H that are in here. We're going specifically Blue Blood, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. That's who we picked here. And let's see who his opponent is going to be. We have Hunter Hearst Helmsley going one-on-one. You're getting a good look here at some of the options here. Hunter Hearst Helmsley one-on-one against... Oh, for God's sakes. Oh, my God. Who is it who made the comment? Who is it who made the comment before? Oh, my God. Who is it who just made the comment before? That when we do these, it tends to be something with current events or somebody that we were just talking about. Were we not just talking about this man? I just did a Vince Russo impression. This is fucking creepy. Who is it who made that comment? Holy shit, I can't get away from this guy. The fuck? Hunter Hearst Helmsley against Vince Russo. What a garbage main event that would be. And here I was hoping that we would get this off on the right foot here. Brand new, be the booker, starting fresh. And this is the fucking main event that we end up with. That is eerie, though. Who is it who made that comment? It just mentioned that a few minutes ago. Wait a minute, hold on. I'll go back and say, I want to give credit to that person. I want to give credit to the person who mentioned it was in one of the super chats. I don't remember who it was. That's eerie. That is eerie. But he just made the comment that it tends to be people that I was talking about on the stream, and then this guy is fucking... Get his face off here. I can't even stand to look at him anymore. Ugh. It's too much Russo on this stream. That's eerie. That is eerie. But you get a sense. That's just a small little... That's a little crumb, a little morsel of Be the Booker. Lots of options from all different promotions, from all different eras represented. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the women, again, I don't want to use the old one because the old one, it's very limited in the options that are there. So I am in the process of working on a new one. I don't want to go back to the old one. I'm hoping the new one will be done in the next few... I might have it done by Friday, but don't hold me to that because it's a lot of work and I have a lot of other work to do. But if I don't have the women's one ready by Friday night, it'll definitely be ready to go by next Wednesday. So for everybody asking where's the ladies one, I'm working on a brand new one. There's going to be a lot more options in there. And then I want to do one for tag teams. You know, I have a lot of ideas for what we can do with this and how we can even, you know, make this more meaningful. I mean, it's fun to kind of pick them and see what we end up with, but maybe we can, you know, start picking the match and then we have to, you know, figure out a way to book it. How would we book a match like that? How would we book Hunter Hearst Helmsley against Vince Russo? If we had to come up with a booking plan, Vince McMahon comes in and says, "Hey, pal, I got a match for you to book." How would you book a match between Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Vince Russo? You know, maybe at some point we'll try to come up with actual storylines for some of these matches. Have some fun with it. Sharpen our booking skills. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the new look. And again, there's a lot more options in there, so it should be a lot of fun. Now, we have some more messages here. We've got Turtlehead, the $4.99. That shit was funnier. Amiibo says that shit was funnier than Kevin Nash eating ravioli. Yeah, I always, when I come across that video, I always feel awkward for Joe. Joe was the person who was interviewing him. He looked so uncomfortable during that interview as Nash was fucking wolfing those raviolis down. He's trying to interview this guy. He's just like, I felt bad for the interviewer. I think it was Joe. I think it was Joe Dombrowski who was doing the interview. Anyway, Turtlehead says, I enjoy the Sunday clips while taking my kids to the pool. Very enjoyable. Please keep them over 15 minutes. Thanks for everything. Well, you know, they're sound-off sound bites. minutes. So they're not all going to be 15 minutes. So some of them are going to be bite-sized, so it's easier for people to digest. That's kind of the whole point of doing them that way. Tomas, what's going on, Tomas? He says yes. Yes, but Marcus, I had to put Russo in there. He's a former WCW champion. David Arquette is in there. There's a lot of names in there that you probably would never expect to be in there. We're going to have some very interesting matches as we continue to do these in the weeks and months ahead. Drew Johnson, that don't work for me, brother. And Turtlehead, maybe add a stipulation, randomized as well. Boy, you're giving me a lot of homework to do. You guys are giving me a lot of homework. Let me tell you that. All right, well, I can't believe that we've gone almost 3 hours. That's insane. This was a big Dynamite tonight, though. Again, I thought overall an excellent show. Some big news coming out of the show tonight. Excellent main event with Hangman retaining his AEW World title. There'll be a lot of fallout. We'll talk about it on the show, I'm sure, on Sunday. That'll be episode 743. I've done so many shows, I've lost track. I'm going to be back with you guys on Friday night. We'll talk SmackDown. We'll talk Rampage. I've got House of Glory on Saturday, so that takes care of my whole day. Podcast on Sunday. Boy, there goes my weekend, right? There goes my weekend. It's a wrestling-filled weekend. And like I said, for all channel members, regardless of what tier you are on, and if you are not a channel member yet and you're listening to this, you still have time to become a channel member and get in before next Thursday. We'll do our call-in show on that date. There it is. Boom. Better call Solomonster. Start thinking of your questions. And I will try to get to as many calls as possible. That's next Thursday. I will keep you guys posted on that. And that's all I got for you here. I'm all tapped out. You guys came through tonight, though, in spades with the super chats. I appreciate that. Drew, you're going to get the last word in here. It says, Solomonster, give me a Drew is the man. Drew is the man. There you go. Bearwolf says, 69 likes to 700. Yeah, I love it. I love it. 69 likes. It's my kind of that's my kind of number right there. 69 likes to 700. Let's make it happen. Am I doing a stream for the Super Bowl? I need some free time for myself. I'm going to be over at my aunt and uncle's house for the Super Bowl. It's actually his 85th birthday this week, and so we're going to celebrate his birthday, and every year I go over and hang out with him and watch the Super Bowl. So we are going to continue that tradition this year. That is where I will be as soon as I finish the podcast. I'm basically going to wrap up, and it'll probably be late enough where it'll be time to go over to his house, and that's where I will be on Sunday night. Jeffrey Hall with the $4.99 says, I love Vince Russo. All right. Food Hive, give me my credit card. I thought he said, give me my credit card. What are you, Wendy Chu? Give me my credit. LOL. It was me. It was you. Okay, it was you. I thought it was you. I just wasn't sure. That was very eerie, though. That was very eerie. Hey, look at this. Fawaz, all the way from Saudi Arabia. He says, buddy, what's up? It's so cold here in Jeddah. I got a little bit sick, but I'm good. You better be ready because I got a better place than the last time. I really don't know how I got... Oh. So am I to believe that you are going to be bringing another sound-off sign? Because the sign that you had last... Actually, you could probably use the same sign. That sign was great. Stood out. It had the show logo on it. So I take that to mean that you're going to be holding up that sign again. I'm going to have to watch for this. I am going to have to watch for this. It's going to be very exciting now. You've got a better spot than last time. You had a pretty kick-ass spot the last time. So I guess we're all going to have to watch for that sound-off sign next Saturday. I know some people don't watch the Saudi Arabia shows, but if you do, keep your eye out for the sound off sign. And I am going to be live after that, by the way. That's a noon Eastern start, not this weekend, but next weekend. And so you figure the pay-per-view will probably be about 3 hours. So 3:30, I'll probably be going live on YouTube that day. So it's going to be another very busy weekend. I think Jeffrey Hall sent 3 super chats saying that he loves Vince Russo. He really loves Vince Russo. Do not pass go in the chat says Jeffrey is Vince Russo confirmed. I think you might be right. I think Russo might be on a burner account. But then why would he be sending me super chats? Oh, me. All right, guys. This has been a lot of fun. I will wish you farewell. Be well. Stay safe. And come on back Friday night because I'm going to be live again. We get to do it all over again for SmackDown and Rampage. So that's all I got. Until then, take care, guys.